Chapter 409. Hey, in my opinion, we're still too hasty. The whole orchestra should cooperate. Brother Guang, you're the only one playing the piano the whole time. I always feel that it's a bit too much. Wang Qing stuffed a big chicken leg into his mouth while muttering with grease all over his mouth. Ever since this kid was discharged from the hospital, he's become a lot fatter than before. What do you know? With me playing the piano, there's no orchestra at all. You're not really planning to play alone for 2 hours, are you? Zhong Bai, who was standing at the side, was shocked. Actually, I did call a few underground rock bands in advance. They were waiting for you to take a break to warm up the stage. Huh? Are there girls in the band you found? At this moment, Qin Guang was in a dilemma. He intended to play for 2 hours by himself so that he could display his awesomeness and convince everyone. However, Zhong Bai had already called him over, so it would be a little unfair if he didn't let him perform. No. Oh, then tell them not to go on stage. They can be the audience worshipping God. Qin Guang expressed that this brother was just so honest. Aren't you afraid of being beaten for saying such words in front of Sister Lu Fei? Zhong Bai laughed. Lu Fei kicked Zhong Bai. Shut up. You like to stir up trouble. Normal artists had to make all kinds of preparations before going on stage to perform. For example, it was said that Richard Clayderman, a master pianist, would lock himself in his room and meditate for a long time before going on stage to adjust his condition, striving to give the audience the best possible state every time he performed. But Qin Guang, the best pianist in history, said that the old man doesn't need this. Anyway, no matter how good or bad his state is, it's the same tune. My state is no state. Sister Shuiwei and I are sitting in front of the TV waiting to watch your live broadcast. I really didn't expect you to play the piano. Your Weibo has been going crazy these past few days. Next time we have a concert, you'll be our accompaniment. Just as Qin Guang was eating, he received a text message from Jiang Yage. At present, only Zhong Bai and Lu Fei knew the details of Qin Guang's Weibo account, as well as Sun Xiaoxuan and Jin Shuiwei, who were the first to follow Qin Guang's Weibo account. Perhaps Uncle Cheng, who was far away in Hong Kong, also knew the details, but he wouldn't care about it. Sun Xiaoxuan also sent a text message. Qin Guang, where did you learn to play the piano? I want to learn too. Qin Guang replied decisively, my master said that it's only passed down to males and not females, because this piano technique is too overbearing. You can't wear clothes when learning it. Even wearing socks will affect your level and you won't be able to learn it. Sun Xiaoxuan replied with a blushing emoji. She actually believed it. These people's text messages and phone calls did not cause any trouble to Qin Guang. Only Bai Fan, this trickster, called Qin Guang first and only said, Brother Guang, check WeChat. He opened WeChat and saw that Bai Nyangzi had sent a video message. In the video he was kneeling on the ground, crying with snot and tears. Brother Guang, help me. My book failed. It fell to shit. I've been running around naked since I uploaded it. It's been a month and a half. The new book period has passed. The editor doesn't even give a mosquito a leg. Brother Guang, you have to save me. I beg you. I'm begging you. Although I don't know how you managed to create such a concert, I think it's really popular. Could you please help me advertise my new book and help me advertise it a little? Even if it's just reading the title of my book once. The Billionaire Young Master's Venomous Doting Wife, Please Love Me 1001 Times. As your brother, I haven't begged you once in 3 years. This time I'm really begging you. This video was watched by Lu Fei, Zhong Bai, and the others. Everyone expressed that their waists were hurt. Brother Guang, your classmate is too funny. Birds of a feather flock together. Brother Guang, you're surrounded by weirdos. To be fair, we don't look like normal people either. That's true, let's not call the pot calling the kettle black. But this Bai Fan's book title is too weird. Qin Guang rolled his dead fish eyes. He really didn't know what to say. Bai Nyangzi added another voice message. When he opened it, he wailed hoarsely, I'm begging you. I'm watching your live broadcast. I don't care, I'm hanging on a rope now. If I don't hear the title of my book after you're done, I'll die in front of you. This will expose my Weibo identity. I don't care. I'm not listening, I'm not listening, I'm not listening. If you don't help me, we'll be brothers again in our next lives. I won't let you off even if I become ghosts. This guy was quite a moral blackmail. Zhong Bai and the others had a stomachache from the conversation between these two. They were really too stupid. Until Bai Nyangzi sent another short message. You can pretend to interact with a live audience member on stage and then let that person read out the title of my book. Qin Guang looked up and glanced at the crowd. Zhong Bai and Lu Fei were the most disrespectful. Zhong Bai, help me out. Save my life. Zhong Bai couldn't laugh anymore. Why me? Qin Guang chuckled. Only you and Sister Lu Fei are laughing the most. If it's not you, then it's Sister Lu Fei? Besides, I sold my live broadcast rights for a cup of milk tea. Brother Zhong Bai, it's not too much for you to sacrifice a little, right? F***CK. You mean I'm going to be the most pitiful shill in history? Something like that. Since we've known each other for a while, you have to help me. At 7:15 p.m. the Arts Center, which could accommodate 5,000 people, was already full. There were even more people crowding outside, unable to enter. Even 10,000 was considered a small number. Fortunately, the square outside the Arts Center was big enough and there was a big screen. Many people who came late and couldn't get in, or fans or onlookers left. In short, there were a lot of people. At least there was a place to watch the big screen. Hiding behind the scenes, Qin Guang's heart was bleeding. He was doing the math. There were 5,000 people in total. If he charged at least 50 for each ticket, he would lose 250,000. Actually, this was bullshit. To rent this place, he cut the queue at the last minute. He spent 1.5 million first. He didn't earn a single cent from the live broadcast rights, and he lost another 500,000. Live broadcast rights? Forget about Zhong Bai's cup of milk tea. My heart hurts. Such a heavy loss. It's equivalent to 100 million after rounding it up. With such a great god wasted, let's not talk about how popular he would be. If he couldn't build a piano god statue, it would be a huge loss. I seem to vaguely remember something. Less than 10 days ago, a certain god threatened me to build 2 statues within a month. Otherwise, I would have to go into the cup world when I take a dump. The pencil god statue has already been set up, right? If I build the piano god statue today, won't I complete the task ahead of time? Damn, how can I be so quick-witted? No, if I don't succeed today, I'll die. I have to get rid of the fear of becoming the king of anus. Zhong Bai. Qin Guang suddenly roared. Behind him, Zhong Bai, who was painstakingly memorizing the long book title, was startled. What? Live broadcast rights are only available in China, right? Do you have overseas broadcast rights? Have you sold it? Qin Guang said anxiously. Not yet. You're in such a hurry. How can you have the time? Although he didn't know why Qin Guang was suddenly so anxious, Zhong Bai's voice had unknowingly risen. Quick, help me think of a way. Overseas broadcast rights must be available too. I don't need money. Oh no, I can even pay for it. Qin Guang roared louder and louder. Only 15 minutes left. Where do you expect me to find it? Tang Xiaokai. 10 minutes later, his international friend, comrade Tang Xiaokai, had settled the matter of the piano performance being broadcasted on overseas YouTube. With a nouveau riche stepping in, the efficiency was indeed different. He didn't spend any more money. In fact, after the previous pencil sharpening video, the omnipotent Superman's Weibo account was already very famous on YouTube. If it weren't for his popularity at home and abroad, Qin Guang wouldn't have been able to erect a 100-foot pencil statue. The racing documentary that followed was also crazily sought after by foreign racing enthusiasts. It was just that the auto statue had already taken shape. Even if they increased the publicity, the power of faith was already fixed. After that, the 2 piano videos that he released also received quite a lot of reposts. After a period of accumulation of popularity, the debate about this piano master that fell from the sky also continued to spread overseas. It was just that Qin Guang himself didn't know about it. Now, they heard that this god was actually going to open a live performance, and it was even a piano performance without any broadcasting fees. This news was personally made by the head of a famous investment company, the famous Chinese tycoon Tang Xiaokai. It was definitely not fake. The senior management of YouTube only considered for 30 seconds before decisively accepting the live broadcast. It was guaranteed to go straight to the front page. Of course, unlike Xiaozong's Bamboo live broadcast, YouTube was second to none overseas. They didn't need to compete with others for popularity. They just needed to broadcast it straight to the front page and it would be enough to attract attention. Done. Zhong Bai gave an okay gesture to Qin Guang, who was putting on his mask and preparing to go on stage. The much-anticipated, omnipotent Superman's piano performance was about to begin. Qin Guang, Zhong Bai, and the others didn't really know how many viewers there would be for a performance that was done in a hurry. Anyway, they didn't expect to earn any money. They just wanted to make him more famous. A deputy director of Wujing City's Arts Channel 2 was sitting in his office, feeling a little uneasy. At this time today he should have already gotten off work. But today's situation was a little special. He didn't dare to leave. He wanted to stay in his office and finish watching the live broadcast. He was under quite a bit of pressure to suddenly disrupt the broadcasting schedule of the entire station and forcefully interrupt a live broadcast of a piano performance. But the other party was Huangxiang Corporation, a big client of the entire Dechuan television station. The benefits they gave were not small. 500,000 yuan wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. Besides that, it was perfectly justifiable for the arts channel to broadcast a piano performance. Moreover, it was just an arts channel with extremely low ratings. It was even a Channel 2 program. It wasn't a big deal to play a little tricks. But no matter what, he still didn't feel confident. At least they couldn't fall below the usual ratings, right? This deputy director, who wasn't young, wasn't very clear about the ups and downs on the internet. He just thought that it was a rich young master from Zhong Bai's circle who wanted to have some fun. This was a common occurrence. Otherwise, how would their arts channel 2, which had such low ratings, give out benefits? Didn't they rely on these rich young masters to do something from time to time? Or perhaps these rich young masters wanted to have some fun, or they were just helping to promote a small celebrity. Even if it was a variety show that no one watched, it was still a program. Young girls who were in a rush to become famous would fall for this. The reason why this deputy director felt nervous was because Zhong Bai's appetite was too big. He asked for 2 hours of his time right off the bat. He couldn't help but feel nervous. Chapter 410. On the other hand, Bamboo Live had already released the live broadcast of the Arts Center's performance hall on the internet. Online live broadcasts were not as formal as live broadcasts on TV. Streaming signals in advance also helped to increase popularity before the performance officially began. With Xiao Tsong's publicity, she managed to gain quite a bit of popularity. Even before Qin Guang's performance started, the Bamboo Arts channel, which was responsible for the live broadcast, already had a popularity of 500,000. At this moment, it was ranked second among all the Bamboo Arts channels. Ranked first was the superstar JJ, who set foot in the live broadcast industry for the first time. The number of viewers was as high as 1 million. Coincidentally, JJ's live broadcast was Dota. Qin Guang's loss to him was not undeserved. At the same time, YouTube, which was far away overseas, had also reached an agreement with Little Kong. Both parties shared a set of streaming signals, which was considered a mutual cooperation between the two companies. Because YouTube did not have any advance promotion, even if it was posted on the homepage, the number of viewers did not exceed 100,000. Sister Lu Fei, what do you think Brother Guang is planning with this show? Zhong Bai could not help but ask when he saw Qin Guang sitting in front of the piano in a tuxedo and wearing AV special agent mask, ready to start working. Lu Fei thought about it. She couldn't tell him about this. There must be a reason, but I can't tell you. In short, after today's matter is settled, you have to get yourself out of this mess. If anyone asks you, you don't know anything. Zhong Bai's eyelids twitched and he had a bad feeling. Something big is going to happen? Lu Fei nodded. It must be something big. I'm afraid some places in our Dechuan province are going to change. *CK. Just because of a disagreement, he dragged me into this. Zhong Bai's face was full of tears. Don't be nervous. We're not small characters. This is his business. We're just helping him out as friends. He doesn't have the guts to burn all of our heads. After all, we're not vegetarians, right? Lu Fei saw through it. It's also because he didn't agree to let me dive in. Otherwise, I really want to use some of my family's connections to help him. Lu Fei spoke in a secretive manner, causing Zhong Bai's heart to itch uncontrollably. Wang Qing, who knew some inside information, smiled but did not say anything. He could only watch Zhong Bai scratch his ears and cheeks in satisfaction. On the other side, Qin Guang pressed his hands on the piano and finally began to play. Everyone couldn't help but look forward to how he was going to survive the 2-hour concert all by himself. 2 hours later, the global piano world was in an uproar. In these 2 hours, too many unforeseen events had occurred. When the first song was played, Qin Guang did not challenge the difficult song. Instead, he chose the first song that he had learned after transforming into 1900. He didn't play a difficult song, but instead, he played with the beauty of art. It was quite pleasant to listen to. The people who were watching and listening to the live broadcast in front of their televisions and computers also felt that it was normal. But the moment the first piece ended, he didn't stop and switched to one of the 10 great difficult pieces. Just like before, it conformed to the norm. But this wasn't a soothing song that anyone could play. It was a difficult song that was easy to make mistakes. After a difficult song, he didn't stop, nor did he switch to a soothing song. Instead, he continued to challenge difficult songs. In addition, he actually played the piano while using his phone to scroll through Weibo. He read out the comments of the audience under his Weibo, but the sound of the piano was not messed up at all. If there were people who doubted whether he had finished the performance in one go when he posted the video on the internet before, then this time with the live broadcast on TV and the internet, no one could doubt the authenticity of it. Just as Chen Guang said at the beginning, he chose to broadcast this performance so that people would come to see a god. Once the audience was convinced in their hearts that he was not fake, those who really understood the piano began to spread the news again. Within the Dechuan province, those who received the Wujing Literature Channel 2 would watch it on TV. Those in other provinces or abroad would watch the live broadcast on Bamboo or YouTube. As more and more people watched, the publicity of the live broadcast also spread more and more. Perhaps those who were not true music lovers would feel that the difficult songs he played were not very pleasant to listen to, but those who knew the music would understand that they had seen a living god. Chen Guang played like this while promoting his Weibo account. The number of fans started from 8 million, and in these 2 hours, it shot up again. The deputy director of the Literature Channel 2 was dumbfounded when he saw the viewership ratings that were about to break the record. I thought this was a rich second generation playing around, but I didn't expect it to be a treasure. Little Tsong looked at the number of viewers in the number 1 Bamboo live broadcast channel and smiled. On the YouTube side, the number of viewers had already exceeded 5 million. Countless international friends' bullet screen comments had already exploded, and there was no lack of famous piano masters among them. Russia's national treasure pianist, Bogoryarjevsky said, "I have never seen anyone who can play Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3 with such ease. I'm even starting to doubt life." Italy's national treasure pianist, Pavarentsev said, "There was once an Asian pianist who amazed me, but now this Asian makes me want to kneel down." The world-renowned Polish master, Richter, let his grandson publish an article on his personal website. "In my long life of 100 years, this is the first time I've seen and heard someone who can play Paganini's Etude without missing a single note. This is not flawless in the broad sense but perfect in the narrow sense. This person has the most perfect talent bestowed by the Creator." At first, there were people who used a sarcastic tone to say that Chen Guang was playing to the gallery. On the surface, it was a piano, but in the dark, it was very likely that he was playing a recording. But when one master after another stood up and used a tone of amazement to say that they had seen the miracle of life, no one dared to question the authenticity of this performance anymore. Finally, when Chen Guang hit the last note, he took a big gulp of water, felt the tremors coming from the sea of clouds of the heavenly Holy Grail, and was pulled into it. He saw a huge piano statue rising from the sea of clouds, standing side by side with the pencil and the alto car. His heart felt at ease. Hard work pays off. The third statue was in his hands. When he returned to the outside world, he looked at Weibo again. The number of fans he had was just over 10 million. He smiled until his eyes were squinted. 10 million living fans. Weibo claimed that there were billions of registered users. Of course, this was nonsense. Excluding a few accounts registered by one person, and excluding most of the zombie fans, the real live users were at most 1 or 200 million. Chen Guang's Weibo was different from other celebrity accounts with tens of millions of followers. The millions of fans here were all living people. This meant that out of the 1 or 200 million real users on Weibo, 1 out of every 10 people was his fan. There were a total of 1.5 billion people in Wuxia, and 1 out of every 150 people was his fan. In addition, those who didn't know him or didn't pay attention to him would inevitably hear the name of this almighty Superman from other people's mouths. From now on, even if he farted and made a sound, he could record it with his phone and post it on Weibo. At the very least, tens of millions of people would hear this heavenly sound immediately. A top internet celebrity was just that domineering. This time, the piano statue had come so easily precisely because of this comprehensive publicity method. With such a super internet celebrity account in hand, it would be much easier for him to promote other godly skills and erect statues in the future. Big profits with a small capital. Chen Guang grinned. But this wasn't enough. I want to walk the path of the strongest internet celebrity. I want to make this Weibo so strong that when I practice any skill in the future, I can post it on the spot and erect a statue on the spot. That would be awesome. In the future, he had to make his words and videos become irrefutable golden rules. Lu Fei hid in the backstage, watching Chen Guang's back as he closed his eyes to rest, the stars in her eyes almost shooting out. Admittedly, when she first got to know Chen Guang, it was only because she was infatuated with his excellent driving skills and his act of saving Zhong Bai that made him seem like a very loyal person. But the more she interacted with him, the more she saw how amazing he was. At this moment, Lu Fei finally understood that his driving skills were only one of his countless abilities. Lu Fei didn't need to say anything about the Dota, but she had also seen the video of Qin Guang sharpening pencils and asked him for a rose. The day before yesterday this guy had used the electric poison dragon dart. Although the name was a little embarrassing, it was really dazzling. Today's hastily organized piano performance also dazzled Lu Fei. Although she wasn't a veteran music fan, and perhaps she was a little drowsy like many of the audience, the crazed hype on the internet couldn't be faked. The comments given by countless foreign masters at that time couldn't be faked. Lu Fei couldn't help but think to herself, how many more secrets does this guy have? Is there anything he doesn't know? He seems to be signaling me with his eyes. Lu Fei was stunned. Qin Guang was anxious, staring at her and mouthing to her. Lu Fei took a while to react, then pushed Zhong Bai beside her. Quick. I'm calling you. Go. Can I not go? I'm really panicking. At least he's wearing a mask, but I don't. Zhong Bai was a little unwilling. But in the end he still went. He braced himself and rushed out from the backstage, holding a bouquet of flowers in his hands. He ran to Qin Guang and stuffed the bouquet into Qin Guang's hands, shouting, "All around Superman. Oh my God. I'm your most loyal fan in my past life, this life and the next." Readers who like to read online literature, please click on Billionaire Young Master's Poisonous Spoiled Wife. Please love me 1001 times. *CK. Can you be any more blunt than forcefully inserting a soft advertisement? You're using too much force to turn the corner. So King shameful. Run. Qin Guang stood up, took the microphone and said, "Everyone remember my Weibo name, All Around Superman. Tonight please follow my Weibo account, there's going to be a big announcement." Immediately after, he left Zhong Bai and ran backstage, pulling Lu Fei along. "Let's go." He didn't explain much to her. Anyway, his goal for today had been achieved. The rest of the mess would be left to Zhong Bai, who had a confused look on his face to deal with. Wang Qing and the others were also loyal. They chuckled and ran away with Qin Guang and Lu Fei. Zhong Bai couldn't react to the situation at all. When he went backstage, it was empty. On the other side, the staff from the TV station and Bamboo Live had already rushed over. Brother Zhong, you must introduce us to All-Around Brother. We'll be relying on him in the future. There must be something going on between the two of you." Zhong Bai was furious. "What the *CK? I don't know him either. I was King forced to do this." He already knew that Qin Guang had buried a big pit. At this time he definitely couldn't fall headfirst into it. Just as Lu Fei said, he planned to go abroad for the next few days to lie low. Anyway, he wouldn't care even if the sky fell down. If anyone asked him, they would only say that they were also this all-around Superman's fan. But this was a godly person who wore a mask everywhere he went. He had no way of knowing his real identity. Chapter 411. Regardless of how pitiful it was for Zhong Bai to be left behind, Qin Guang, Lu Fei, and the rest had already snuck away. They were intending to celebrate. After changing clothes with him, the group headed to the parking lot. On the way, Lu Fei could not help but ask, "Other than racing, sharpening pencils, throwing darts and hitting the sword tower, what other skills do you have? Can you tell me everything in one go?" Qin Guang thought for a moment. "I do have a very awesome skill, but it's a bit hard to tell." Lu Fei looked at him blankly. "What?" Qin Guang moved closer to Lu Fei's ear. "Let me tell you. My greatest skill is not what you see. Look at my hand, do you see it? Do you see the terrifying vibration? Yes, that's right. This is the legendary overclocking vibration. It's more powerful than any vibrating machine you've ever seen. It's even more effective. You know how powerful it is." Lu Fei blushed and spat at him. "You can't be serious." The few of them entered the parking lot. Wang Qing's car was parked on the other side, while Qin Guangza and Lu Fei headed in the direction of the phaeton. Just as the two of them approached the parking lot, a large group of people suddenly rushed out from behind the phaeton and firmly surrounded the two of them. Qin Guang was startled. No way. He had hidden so well, yet the groupies recognized him? From today onwards, the old man would have to bid farewell to his proudest days of acting cool? Something was not right. These people did not look like groupies. Most people would not hold a metal rod in their hands when they chased after their idols. They were offering flowers, but these tough guys were offering steel rods? This posture was so special. "Qin Guang, let's see where you can hide now. Grandpa has been looking for you for days." Chao Guang too had his hands on his hips, standing proudly in front of the crowd. He had put in a lot of effort to find Qin Guang. Qin Guang was stunned for a moment, then shielded Lu Fei behind him. "You know me?" Chao Guang too raised an eyebrow. Why would I look for you if I don't know you? Did Wang Ren send you? Qin Guang asked again. You don't need to know about that. Anyway, just bear with it for today and prepare to lie in the hospital for a month or two. You'd better cooperate. Otherwise, my friends might not be able to control themselves well. As Chao Guangtu spoke, he retreated. The people he brought with him gradually pressed forward. Lu Fei, on the other hand, was unfazed. Looks like you're still too slow. Look at how straightforward he is. He who strikes first has the advantage. Qin Guang did not panic in the slightest in the face of the people that Chao Guotu had brought. The others are different from me, I don't have a government official father. Lu Fei covered her mouth and laughed. How can we say that? Chao Guangtu was extremely puzzled. How could this man and woman not be nervous at all when surrounded by so many people? Could it be that he was scared silly? There are so many people here. Why don't we reason with them first and wait for Wang Qing to bring his men over? As Lu Fei spoke, she stretched her neck to look at the other side of the parking lot. As expected, Wang Qing, Duan Wen, and the others had already noticed that something was wrong and were rushing over. Qin Guang shook his head and licked his lips. No need, my hands are itching. In the beginning, Wang Qing was furious when he saw Qin Guang and Lu Fei being surrounded. After all, the friends of Wang Guixiong's son were surrounded right under their noses. This was akin to slapping the face of the Wang family. However, 30 seconds later, Wang Qing's anger was gone. All that was left was pity and sympathy. He had no idea how Qin Guang did it. From what he could remember, he had never seen anyone who could take down so many people with weapons in such a short period of time. Even his uncle, the most powerful bodyguard in his family, who was said to have killed more than 10 soldiers on the battlefield, couldn't do it. Before Wang Qing and the others could get close, Chao Guangtu and the large group of people he brought were all howling miserably on the ground. Qin Guang did not know how much he should hit them. In short, he just used the sticks in their hands to hit them until they couldn't move. Looking at the pitiful scene on the ground, the others could only think of one word. Pitiful. It was undeniably pitiful. The first person swung his stick at Qin Guang, but the stick in his hand was snatched away. This person was close to 2 meters tall and had a huge build. However, Qin Guang snatched his weapon away as if he was snatching a lollipop from a child's hand. Then he hit the person's head with the stick. Duong, duong, duong. That was about it. The other party was obviously a gang of menacing people, but they were all taken care of by Qin Guang like he was playing whack-a-mole. What's the situation now? Wang Qing walked over anxiously. He could not help but think back to the first time he met Qin Guang. Fortunately, Zhong Bai had fallen into the river and everyone had restrained themselves. Otherwise, if they had really fought, the scene would have been terrifying. Qin Guang shrugged. Isn't it obvious? Someone found a gang to beat me up and send me to the hospital. That's it. In the end, Qin Guang and Lu Fei left first, while Wang Qing and the others stayed behind. Since Chao Guangtu was a gang member, it was Wang Qing's duty to run into him. Chao Guangtu had seen Wang Qing before and knew that he was Wang Guixiong's son. Unfortunately, it was too late by the time he recognized him. He really did not know whether to laugh or cry at this incident. Although Chao Guangtu was not a member of the Wang family, his boss, Mr. Yin IV, and Wang Guixiong were sworn brothers. Today he admitted defeat and was extremely unlucky. He originally planned to beat someone up to please Wang Ren, but he did not think that the situation was so troublesome that it was not something he could understand. The poor student that Wang Ren mentioned was in cahoots with Wang Guixiong's son. He had been tricked by Wang Ren. After returning to Lu Fei's house, Qin Guang began to prepare to release the news. The first long article had already been prepared. The title was The Devil Hiding in the Ivory Tower. It described the many things that Wang Ren had done in the past few years when he was the head of the Academic Affairs Department at Jinhuan Academy. The core part of the article was Ding Lu's matter, clearly explaining the ins and outs of the matter. A white-collared beauty who should have been enjoying her life now chose to end her life before she could step out of the ivory tower. Why was that? Who did it? What methods did they use? Who forced her step by step into a dead end? Of course, cheating was shameful. But how many people dared to guarantee that their university life was pure? Who hadn't been stupid once when they were young? Ding Lu didn't even cheat herself. She only let others take a look at her paper. Wang Ren used his power to force her step by step. He threatened her step by step. He even used drugs to humiliate her. At every turning point in her life she met the wrong person and did the wrong things to her. Her boyfriend was also very shameful. Her family was also very heartless. But no matter how many mistakes the people who came after her did, Wang Ren, who used drugs to obtain her, was the first person who planted the seeds of evil. Now Ding Lu's remains had turned into dust. What was the devil Wang Ren doing? 3 months ago he was still acting like a tyrant in Jinhuan Academy. He used his usual methods to force the young and beautiful but talented new counselor to submit. When his plot failed, he was abandoned by the teachers and students, and he was kicked out of Jinhuan Academy. However, he didn't receive the punishment he deserved. Instead, he became the manager of the School of Chemical Industry. He moved to another place and lived a better life. He used another method to continue to corrupt the beautiful campus of Gokyo University in another academy. Ding Lu's soul was crying silently. Who could stop Wang Ren from using his dirty hands to stain the holy land of scholars? Shouldn't this kind of person go to hell? At the end of this long post, Qin Guang attached 2 photos. One was the late Ding Lu. At this time she had just entered the campus. She showed a bright smile in front of Hua Ling's mobile phone. Although she wasn't so beautiful that people would be stunned by her beauty, she showed the cuteness and innocence of a girl next door. The other photo was taken from the video recorded by Lin Jingwei. It showed the ugly and ferocious side of Wang Ren when he was angry. Not only that, under the same Weibo post, Qin Guang attached a recording. It was the recording extracted from Ding Lu's mobile phone. Ding Lu's heart-wrenching scream, Wang Ren's lawless shouting, the sound of scuffles and collisions, all of these could ignite the adrenaline of everyone who saw this long post and heard this recording. That night, Qin Guang didn't sleep for the whole night. He also didn't know how long his Weibo post would last, but the longer it lasted, the more people would see it. At this time, the number of his fans had already exceeded 10 million. Although it was already midnight when this Weibo post was posted, there were still countless people who clicked on it immediately. At first, some people were still complaining, saying that Almighty Superman had finally become serious, but now he had fallen and was going to become a public figure again. But this time was different. This time the target of his attack was too clear. The matter was written too clearly, and Ding Lu's story was too painful. When the seniors and juniors who had been in Jianhuan Academy for the past few years commented and replied on Weibo, they either spoke for themselves or vouched for the Almighty Superman. They said that the Weibo post written by Almighty Superman was true, and after they said it with certainty, no one dared to call Almighty Superman public knowledge anymore. Instead, it was reposted one after another and comments after comments. In a place like a school which was supposed to educate people, there was actually such a level of corruption. How infuriating was that? Overnight, Wang Ren's name was known by the whole world. Lu Fei had already fallen asleep. Qin Guang sat in front of the computer in the living room. He had already turned off the lights. In the dark night, only his cold face could be seen, hidden in the dark like a snake. Finally, when this Weibo post had been reposted more than 200,000 times and had more than 400,000 comments, the official Weibo block came late. Almighty Superman, who had tens of millions of fans, this super online celebrity account that didn't add any accounts, was instantly cleared. It was like an island on the sea that was hit hard by the huge waves brought by the howling wind. The huge waves retreated, but the island was completely flattened. From the sea there was nothing. Who knew how many silent complaints were hidden under the water? Chapter 412. Frankly speaking, when Qin Guang saw that the account was instantly blocked, he was quite reluctant. But he didn't regret it, which meant that Su Lijing had fallen into the trap. A few kilometers away, Su Lijing was wearing pajamas, angrily pacing back and forth in his room, making phone calls one after another. He was woken up by his secretary in the middle of the night, and then he saw this long Weibo post that he didn't want to see. If everything written in this long post was fabricated out of thin air, he wouldn't have the slightest panic or anger, but it was all true. The style of the long post was familiar, and it must have been written by Qin Guang. He then recalled what Wang Ren said yesterday evening. Yes, Qin Guang must have gone to see the live performance of Almighty Superman. He knew that Qin Guang had a way to contact Almighty Superman, but at that time the influence of this Weibo post was not as far as it was now. At that time, Almighty Superman only posted a sentence that seemed stupid to others, but only Su Lijing understood it. Tonight, Almighty Superman held a concert at the Wujing Art Center, and his reputation soared. Su Lijing also learned from Wang Ren that Qin Guang also went to the art center tonight. It was obvious that this impetuous young man had finally made a move. Su Lijing felt a little relieved but also a little panicked. Qin Guang's actions seemed fierce, but it also told him that it wasn't the higher-ups who wanted to make a move on him. He had been in this system for more than 30 years, and he knew too well what would happen if the higher-ups really wanted to deal with him. He wouldn't have any chance to react at all, and he would be quietly taken away. To the outside world, maybe Su Lijing was promoted, sent out to do research, or changed to some research institute to do research work. He would be instantly stripped of all his power, but it wouldn't cause any waves in the eyes of the public. Qin Guang doing such a thing was not in line with the usual style of the higher-ups, because it was a move that hurt both sides. Whether he succeeded or not, it would cause another public interrogation of credibility. Therefore, whether or not Qin Guang was really the descendant of a big shot, he must have done this on his own. Did he think that he would be able to touch Wang Ren just because he found an internet celebrity to spread the news? Su Lijing only sneered in response. How naive, childish, and stupid. Is this what you're relying on? I only need to move a finger to turn this internet celebrity into ashes in an instant. I've tolerated you so many times only because I'm afraid of the elders behind you. But since this isn't an instruction from your elders and it's just your own actions, there's naturally no need for me to be too afraid. Although I, Su Lijing, am not some great figure, I'm still not someone that a junior like you can bully as you please. You're breaking the rules. As an elder, it is reasonable for me to punish you. Early the next morning, Su Li gave himself a tight slap after his phone call with Wu Shan. He was tired of guessing, so he decided to get straight to the point. He asked Wu Shan directly if Qin Guang was the descendant of that powerful figure who had gone into seclusion behind the scenes. Unexpectedly, after Wu Shan heard him ask this question, he insisted that Qin Guang really had nothing to do with the people in Yanjing. Now that things had become like this, Su Lijing thought that Wu Shan had no reason to lie to him, unless Wu Shan really wanted to become enemies with him. But Su Lijing didn't think that Wu Shan was that kind of person. This didn't meet the standards of people like him. He once again valued Wang Ren's opinion. Early the next morning he began to talk to some of the people in Jinhuan Academy. When Qin Guang's former tutor, Teacher Xin, came out of Su Lijing's office, the vice principal finally confirmed that he had been wrong about Qin Guang's identity. Qin Guang was not the descendant of a big shot. He was really just the son of a small rich family in Lilai County of Dechuan Province. Even last year, his small rich family couldn't be saved and became a completely impoverished family. Su Lijing, you are really scaring yourself. Sharon was right, the older you get, the more timid you become. How embarrassing. Rubbing the sandalwood prayer beads in his hand, Su Lijing's eyes flashed with a terrifying light. He remembered the phone conversation he had with Wu Shan. Because of Wu Tong, I did help him a lot before, but since he didn't know what was good for him and insisted on not letting him go, then as an elder, I can't do anything about it. It's not that I don't take care of the younger generation, it's just that he insisted on breaking the rules. Elder Su, thank you for informing me in advance. From now on, I won't interfere with Qin Guang's affairs anymore. Good. Thank you. Since he had already gotten Wu Shan's promise, and he had killed Qin Guang's biggest support, a mere internet celebrity, Su Lijing had no more worries. He only ordered that next semester he didn't want to see Qin Guang in school anymore. Apart from that, Su Lijing also talked to someone in the prefecture-level municipal committee, which was directly above Lilai County. Since the court had ordered the Qin family's hot pot restaurant to compensate for the medical expenses of the food poisoning victims, it had already been in arrears for more than a year. It was time for a trial. He couldn't allow people to take advantage of the loopholes of the law and hide their assets under their relatives' names to avoid paying compensation. Not only that, Su Lijing also talked to a subordinate of Wu Shan and asked that person to help keep an eye on Qin Guang, and use all means within the system to cause trouble for Qin Guang. I'll fire you first, then track down your family, then I'll do whatever I want, and I'll be able to create layers of waves that will slowly crush you to death on the beach. From today onward, as long as it's within my means, there won't be a single inch of space for you, Qin Guang, to hide. I have to let you know that there are some hidden rules in this world that a student like you can't challenge. After making these arrangements, Su Lijing felt a little better. He sat in his office and hung up the phone with an indifferent smile on his face. He couldn't help but feel a little funny. He actually became serious because of a student. He hoped that after a few years, this young and impulsive boy would understand what he had done wrong. On the other side, Qin Guang woke up. He was not in a hurry to let the Internet Water Army launch a second wave of attacks. Instead, he locked himself in Lu Fei's house and revised the long article over and over again. This long article followed the previous one and took out another piece of real evidence. The family of the boy who died after being beaten into a vegetative state had been quietly brought to Wujing by Old Han. There seemed to be some accidents on Guoming's side. The nurse who now lived in a coastal city was not willing to stand up and testify against Wang Ren. The unforgettable hatred would eventually be washed away by time. Burying the hatred and living a good life in the future could also be regarded as a kind of attitude towards life. Of course, the root cause of the nurse's choice to retreat was still her fear of Su Lijing. In the past she had also fought back, but her ending was not much better than Ding Lu's. Fortunately, she had the courage to leave the 5 capitals and all the people and things she was familiar with. She also found a home in Denghai who was willing to understand and pity her. She did not want to risk her current life for the pain of the past. In the face of the nurse's choice, Guoming was helpless. He was not in the position to persuade others to fight with him. If Wang Ren could bring out Wu Shan, who was hiding in the dark, he might be able to persuade the nurse's family, but now was not the time. At this time, the Weibo account of Almighty Superman disappeared from the internet, which did indeed cause a lot of waves. Many people, as usual, got up early in the morning, ate breakfast and went to work at the company. At noon, they took advantage of the break to open Weibo to see if there were any new jokes and find some new fun. There were also many viewers who watched the live broadcast last night and knew that Almighty Superman was going to release big news at night. They went to bed early last night and watched it at noon. As a result, these people suddenly found that there was no Almighty Superman in their follow list. Some people found out about the change through other people's questioning Weibo. It was not pushed by the Internet Water Army, but many diehard fans saved a screenshot last night. Later they found out that Almighty Superman had been banned, so they simply sorted out the matter and forwarded it to the internet, questioning the Weibo officials' actions. Although Weibo had been continuously banning Weibo that discussed the matter, no matter how strict the defense was, it was impossible to cover everything. This matter did not reach the peak of the influence on the internet until noon the next day. In general, this time Almighty Superman's public awareness disease was acting up again. Although the evidence was conclusive, it seemed that he had provoked the wrong person, so he was directly banned by the Weibo official. In fact, this was not the first time this happened. Before Qin Guang, who knew how many internet celebrities had encountered a similar fate. Perhaps there were some who were more popular than him, but there were also some who were less influential than him. The Weibo official always had this kind of strategy of being questioned by people, but constantly pulling out new hot topics to divert people's attention. Again and again people's voices disappeared into thin air. You can say what you want to say here, and you can also find the air you want to breathe freely here. You think you are wandering in an unrestrained ocean. But you don't know that in your eyes, the ocean is just because you are too small. This is just a pond that can be drained at any time. Others let you swim in it just because of your existence and the sewage that you burst out of the bubble. It is not enough to change the color of the pond water to be noticed. Once you try to break through the pond or pull out the plug that is hidden in the bottom of the water, you will be uprooted by an invisible big hand, leaving no trace. Even if you used to be popular on the internet, people's memory has always been the most unreliable thing. If you want to be a happy little internet celebrity, don't touch the red line of reality, and live well in the illusion. According to the original plan, that night, Qin Guang should contact the Internet Water Army Company to launch a second wave of attack, but there was a slight accident. At this time he was taken to the Wujing City Jiangyuan branch. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon he received a call from the Traffic Control Bureau, reminding him that the newly purchased Phaeton license plate had been made, and to change the temporary license plate as soon as possible. Qin Guang did not suspect anything. Anyway, he had nothing to do in the afternoon, so he drove out alone, and then something happened. Chapter 413. When he arrived at the place he was detained for 2 reasons. First, his previous experience of running a business for the internet company was investigated. A thick stack of papers was slapped in front of him. He was suspected of illegal operation. Second, he illegally modified the car and replaced the Phaeton logo with the Passat logo, which was a serious crime. The first crime was planned long ago and the second one was improvised. Qin Guang looked at the scene and knew that he had fallen into a trap. Su Lijing's counterattack was unusually fierce and caught people off guard, but it was also within Qin Guang's expectations. It was just that Qin Guang didn't know where he would cut in and what kind of means he would use. Now he knew. Fortunately, they didn't accuse him of being a prostitute and asking him to jump off a building. Perhaps it was because of Wu Shan's reputation. Even though Wu Shan had cleared his name, Su Lijing didn't really want to kill himself. Wu Tong was only Wu Shan's daughter now. Who knew if Wu Tong would become the next Wu Shan in 10 or 20 years? After all, Wu Tong had just joined the workforce for less than a year, and she was already the deputy director of the Wenxing branch. If Wu Shan didn't fall, who knew what Wu Tong's future limit would be? Of course, Su Lijing had to punish Qin Guang. It might make him feel disgusted, but it wouldn't kill him. This was also the balance between Su Lijing and Wu Shan. At least that was what Su Lijing thought. Therefore, it was good to start with the internet company. The evidence was conclusive and there was no quibbling, but it wouldn't hurt Wu Shan too much. The matter of running the net was quite funny. Changing one's orders was a common occurrence. At first, when the industry came out, the publicity said that it effectively solved the problem of people in big cities who couldn't get a taxi or go out. It was a new industry that deserved to be promoted and encouraged. In addition, the internet company spared no effort in advertising and subsidies. Many people who had a car or a driver's license plunged into it. Suddenly, one day the internet company became bigger and bigger and its stock price soared. However, the drivers found that they had become illegal. Inexplicably, they were arrested by the transport management for illegal operation, and the driver was detained. The internet company became bigger and bigger, and followed the call for energy saving and emission reduction. However, the drivers were legal today and illegal tomorrow. No one could explain the reason behind this, nor could they figure it out. However, there was nothing they could do about it. It was not uncommon for people of the same trade to be arrested and their cars detained. Gradually, the drivers understood that they were doing a business that might or might not be legal under the organization of a legal company. There was only a fine line between breaking the law and obeying the law. Before they were caught, they were not breaking the law, but after they were caught, they were breaking the law. Logically speaking, Qin Guang wasn't caught in the act when he was driving a sports car. Now that he's no longer online, this matter shouldn't have anything to do with him. However, Su Lijing could casually order someone to pull out all of his bills from the branch offices in the 5 capitals. This was more conclusive evidence than catching him in the act. As for changing the car logo, it was also a gray area. Not to mention that he had changed the car logo from a Phaeton to a Passat. Only Zhong Bo and Wang Qing's group of people had changed the entire Mitsubishi EVO into another car. From the color to the car model and even the car logo, it had been completely changed. Perhaps only the frame inside was still the original Mitsubishi EVO. Was this kind of modification illegal? Of course it was illegal. However, other people would still interrogate it every year or they would not interrogate it at all. As long as no one was killed or if it was not leaked, it would not be a problem. Qin Guang was far inferior compared to Su Tao, but he was also only in between investigating and not investigating. If they really found out, it did not seem wrong to say that he was breaking the law. On the other side, Su Lijing received the news as soon as Qin Guang was arrested. The other side asked Su Lijing if he wanted to teach this kid a lesson. Su Lijing hesitated a little. You can punish him a little, but be careful not to make him disabled. After the person had agreed with Su Lijing, he turned around and wrote the matter on a piece of paper and asked someone to bring it to Wu Shan's office. After Wu Shan read it, he added a line of words on the same piece of paper. Kid, do you want to be tough on yourself? This piece of paper circulated for more than half an hour, and it was in front of Qin Guang. Qin Guang looked at the middle-aged man in front of him and the expressionless police officers beside him. He understood that they were all on his side. Su Lijing had underestimated him. How could Wu Shan's men be Su Lijing's confidants? This middle-aged bureau chief was a double agent. After reading the note, Qin Guang gritted his teeth and nodded. Do it. About half an hour later, Qin Guang was lying in the detention room with his teeth clenched. His heart was filled with all kinds of thoughts. F***ck, no one could use the trick of injuring themselves to gain the confidence of others. What was more infuriating was that the bureau chief's cold-faced police officer, who claimed to be an expert in interrogation, was not good enough. That man had a bad start. In the end, the frightening injuries all over his body as well as his bruised and swollen face were mostly caused by himself. The situation was like this. The cold-faced police officer hesitated. Kid, bear with it. I have a lot of experience. I can guarantee that it will only be superficial injuries. Qin Guang was also hesitating. You really don't need to tie my hands? Sai, how can we do that? We are on the same side. The cold-faced police officer then punched Qin Guang's face. After that, the police officer entered the hospital. Qin Guang did not do it on purpose. Although he kept reminding himself that he must bear with it and not make a move. No, make a move. But when this man's fist was getting closer and closer to his face, he could not bear with it. His arm was right on target. The feeling was unbelievably sour. This experienced man flew up and hit the wall on his butt. He could not move and all his internal organs were displaced. Qin Guang was ashamed. Brother, I really did not do it on purpose. I just reacted instinctively. I told you to tie me up. It was useless. This man had already fainted. In this world, the only one who could hurt the owner of the heavenly Holy Grail was himself. What did it feel like to hit his own face with his own fist? This matter could not be discussed in detail because it would only make him cry. According to Qin Guang's original plan, at 7 o'clock in the evening, the Internet Water Army Company would spread the things he had prepared on the Internet. Countless jokes about Wang Ren, evidence of Wang Ren's corruption in the School of Chemical Engineering, account books, voice recordings, copies of checks, bank transfer records, Ding Lu's semen-stained underwear, voice recordings, suicide note, the surveillance video of the boy who was beaten into a vegetative state. Except for the evidence of the nurse, which was temporarily hidden without the consent of the person involved, all the other evidence would be ruthlessly thrown out. Smash him to the ground. Smash his head to the ground. Such a propaganda campaign would continue for at least 3 days so that the Weibo official could not delete it and the truth could not be hidden anymore. The most professional Internet Water Army, the most advanced technology, and the investment regardless of the cost, would exhaust the Weibo official and place these bloody facts in front of everyone. Even if Su Lijing's power was overwhelming, even if his words carried enormous weight, he would not be able to stop it. That's because everything that Qin Guang said was the truth. His facts could withstand the beating and the test, and he was not short of money. He did not believe that in a modern society where the internet was so advanced, someone could really cover up the truth with one hand. People in the past couldn't do it because they didn't work hard enough, because they didn't spend enough money. First, he would use 2 million to create an almighty Superman. Then he would use 3 million to create the first round of Internet Water Army. If Su Lijing could really withstand it, Lu Fei, Zhong Bai, and the rest, although they would not join in on the surface, had nothing but money. He could borrow Qin Guang's money, but if he was forced to the brink of insanity, even if he had to infuriate Liuli, even if he angered Liuli to the point of turning into the king of anal prolapse, he would still be willing to spend 170 million yen. I dare to use more than 100 million to slander you. Until you don't even dare to take it. When the time was right, Old Han would bring the victim's family to come forward and testify, and at the same time, launch the last wave of propaganda, and then use the alias of the nurse. Perhaps without the nurse's confirmation, the power of this big move would be reduced, but it was almost enough to start the prosecution. But at 6:30 in the evening, things suddenly changed. The Jiangyuan district branch chief looked at the phone on his desk that kept ringing, and then looked at the name of the caller ID, and his whole person was not good. Jiang Yage. Was this Jiang Yage? Or was it a coincidence that they had the same name? What should he do now? If it was really Jiang Yage who was in his hands, what was her intention of calling Qin Guang at this time? Did she know Qin Guang? What was her relationship with Qin Guang? This poor chief was not particularly clear about Jiang Yage's background, but he, who had been directly responsible for the security of Jin and Zhang's concert in Wujing City, knew very well that this seemingly actress, who seemed to be a singer, actress, had a terrifying background. This call, should I answer it or not? If I answer it, what should I say? Chapter 4:14. Just as he was hesitating, the phone suddenly stopped ringing. The bureau chief was in a dilemma again. Should I call back? His hesitation did not last more than 5 minutes. His personal phone rang first. The bureau chief had a total of 3 mobile phones. One was specially used to contact his family, one was used to contact his subordinates at work, and the last one was used 24 hours a day to contact his boss and some people that he absolutely could not ignore. The phone that rang at this time was the one that he could not ignore. It showed an unfamiliar number, but at this special time, it was self-evident who was calling. After the call was connected, the person on the other side of the phone chatted briefly. However, the bureau chief hung up the phone in fear and looked out of the window with a blank face. In the depths of his heart, he was confused, hollow, and perplexed. What was wrong with this world? The person who called just now was the top leader of Dechuan province. Although they were both in the same system, the difference in status between the two was too big. A mere bureau chief of the Jiangyuan district was not qualified to save the number of the top leader. The other party's intention was obvious. The moment he opened his mouth, he asked if he had detained a student named Qin Guang in the bureau. At this point, how could the bureau chief dare to lie? He could only honestly admit it. After that, the most powerful person in Dechuan province only said, from now on, protect the person well, and don't let anything unpleasant happen again. He would immediately bring Wu Shan with him. If anything happens to Qin Guang, the responsibility is all on you. The bureau chief of the Jiangyuan district did not understand what was going on. It was obviously just a game between Wu Shan and Su Lijing. Wu Shan had already explained the specific arrangements to him. Qin Guang was also very cooperative. Even the young man performed the bitter flesh countdown with great effort. He was really a good young man with a heart of justice. But why would Jiang Yage get involved? Why would Jiang Yage so decisively contact the influential figure in Dechuan province after failing to get through on the phone? In fact, Wu Shan himself was also at a loss. When he received the call, he also did not know what had happened. However, the tone of the colleague on the other side of the phone was very anxious, as if he was more worried about Qin Guang's safety than himself. Wu Shan couldn't help but think of Su Lijing's conjecture that he had once mocked. Could it be that Qin Guang was really that old man's grandson? But that was impossible. For a child raised by that kind of family, whether he hid his identity or not, it was impossible for him to be willing to take the initiative to get involved in a storm like dealing with Su Lijing. Even if he really wanted to deal with someone, he would not do it himself. Instead, he would have other means. There was no need for him to do something that was taboo and made people nervous. Secretary Ma, what's going on? Wu Shan asked as they sat in the same car. Ma, who was nearly 60 years old, shook his head. Don't ask me. I don't know what's going on either. I just got the news. Someone from above told me to go to the Jiangyuan district branch immediately and personally investigate the matter regarding the student named Qin Guang. I'm afraid something big is going to happen. Secretary Ma said and pointed to the roof of the car. For him and Wu Shan, it was self-evident that he could continue to use the two words above. Wu Shan gasped. Could it be that that student is? Secretary Ma shook his head. Don't let your imagination run wild. He is not the old man's descendant. In short, we have to figure out the problem. We can't let him be wronged. It was like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife. However, the situation was too sudden, and the tone of the person who gave the order seemed to be very anxious, so he had no choice but to pay attention to it. He put down what he was doing and rushed here overnight. On the way, his secretary called. Secretary Ma, something happened on the internet. What's the matter? Make it short. Do you think the trivial things on the internet are worth telling me? Secretary Ma frowned. At this time, he was not in the mood to care about the rumors on the internet. He couldn't help but feel unhappy. Someone has spread a lot of groundless rumors on the internet. They are related to the vice president of Gokyo University, Su Lijing. The situation is serious and it has caused a lot of repercussions. Do you think we should? All right. We will deal with it the way we dealt with it in the past. Although Su Lijing has a high administrative rank, he belongs to the education system. He is the main leader of a university directly under the ministry. We should not interfere too much. Secretary Ma hung up the phone and said to the driver in front. Hurry up. Qin Guang was lying quietly on the bed. His face was burning. He raised the mirror in his hand and saw his bruised and swollen face. He grimaced slightly and affected his wounds. If he had known that using the Kirin arm on his face would cause such terrible damage, he would have worn gloves on his fists. The wind and rain outside should have started blowing. Su Lijing, you can easily kill an almighty Superman who is only a Weibo celebrity. Then, if I replace him with thousands of fake reviewers, how are you going to cover up the truth? Do you have the ability to paralyze the internet? Of course you can't do it, so you can't stop me. Sister Shuriwa, I want to go to the 5 capitals. Don't stop me. Jiang Yage threw things angrily. The expensive blue and white porcelain vase was smashed to the ground by her slap, breaking into pieces. Jean Shuriwa opened her hands and stood in front of the door, blocking Jiang Yage. Yage, calm down. Things are definitely not as simple as you think. What do you mean by not as simple as I think? Jiang Yage was anxious. Sister Shuriwa, are you muddle-headed? Don't you understand the way these people do things? Qin Guang started a war on the internet, and now he's been dragged into it. Who knows what will happen to him? You want me to calm down? Can I calm down? But even if we go to the 5 capitals now, we won't make it in time. And I feel that this matter isn't that simple. A few days ago he crazily increased the popularity of that almighty Superman account, and then when the popularity reached its peak he suddenly released a bomb. Can he not think of the consequences? Jean Shuriwa thought more deeply than Jiang Yage. Jiang Yage was stunned at first, but immediately felt that Jean Shuriwa's analysis was reasonable. The Qin Guang in her impression was not someone who would only do stupid things. Sister Shuriwa, you mean to say that he deliberately exposed himself first so that Su Lijing could find trouble with him? Yes. Jean Shuriwa nodded. But I've already called Uncle Ma using Grandpa's name. Jiang Yage said. This won't ruin his plans, right? Jean Shuriwa was dumbfounded. You little girl, why don't you understand the situation first before making a decision? Aren't I too concerned about him? Jiang Yage became bashful. Moreover, he wrote that Wang Ren is so evil and wicked. I'm afraid that something will happen to him. Jin Shirue sighed. Forget it. Since he's already said it, why don't we just repost his long article? Anyway, Uncle Ma has already passed away. There's no need to worry about his safety. Since he wants to do this, I believe that what he wrote is true. This Wang Ren deserves it. Let's just add fuel to the fire. Don't be fooled by Jin Shirue's calm demeanor. In the end, her words were also shocking. Jiang Yage's eyes lit up. Half an hour ago, Zhuo Jingxi sat at home restlessly. Her fingers were tapping on the mouse and keyboard, and her eyes were a little confused. In the living room, Fan Lingshan had been pacing back and forth for almost half an hour. Lingshan, hurry and sit down. Don't worry, your brother will have a way. Didn't he say a few days ago that we shouldn't think about anything and not care about anything? Since he's making a move, he'll definitely be well prepared. Hua Ling was dazzled by Fan Lingshan's pacing and could not help but say that. Fan Lingshan sat down with a sad face. But even the almighty Superman's Weibo account has been blocked. Really, why didn't he say anything? He didn't even let me call him. Look. Someone reposted the news again. Someone who was fiddling with Weibo on her phone suddenly shouted. What? Zhuo Jingxi and the other two came over to take a look. In the end, before they could open the specific content, the Weibo post that had just popped up was blocked. That's too fast. Hua Ling cursed. Zhuo Jingxi sat back in front of the computer and refreshed the page. She also shouted, It's out again. I have it here again. What's going on? I think Qin Guang said that he planned to spend money to hire fake reviewers. These are the fake reviewers he hired? So powerful? I can't even delete all of them? Zhong Yu asked. I think so. The other three said in unison, but they were not very sure. They really wanted to call Qin Guang, but unfortunately, they did not dare to contact him due to Qin Guang's instructions a few days ago. It was really distressing. The four of them simply gathered in front of the computer and watched Zhuo Jingxi refresh the page again and again. As expected, the fake reviewers from the previous money and human dispelling disaster were not to be trifled with. The fake reviewers Lu Fei found were extremely professional. At least tens of millions of accounts posted at the same time. Moreover, the pattern of these long posts was not the same. Instead, they were mixed with many subtle changes. The Weibo officials could not even block them in time based on the keywords. Seeing that the news on the internet was becoming more and more lively, it was gradually getting out of control. The four girls were so excited that they were dancing. On the other side, Suli was pacing back and forth in the living room. He was in a terrible state. He had already brought Wang Ren back from the hospital. In the afternoon, he heard that a group of young people who looked like students had come to the hospital. They looked fierce and wanted to find Wang Ren by name. They said that they wanted to seek justice for Ding Lu's death. These people were really not arranged by Qin Guang. In this world, there were still some young people with a strong sense of justice. Perhaps it was because Qin Guang's long post was too touching, or perhaps it was because Ding Lu's experience was too tragic, or perhaps it was because this group of young people was at the age where they were hot-blooded and impulsive. They did not know what they could really do by coming together. Perhaps they just wanted to point at Wang Ren's nose and give him a good scolding. After all, this was a society ruled by law. It was impossible to take someone's life for no reason. They came in a threatening manner, but in the end they did not even see the person. Chapter 4:15. However, Su Lijing was still worried, so he simply brought Wang Ren back. But from tonight onwards, Su Lijing realized that something was wrong. News came from Lilai County. It was said that as soon as the local court subpoena was issued, Qin Guang's father, Qin Guoli, quickly auctioned off the original installment of compensation. Qin Guoli was not a nobody in the local area who could be bullied by anyone. In a small place like Lilai, the roots were complicated. The smaller the place, the more ruthless the gangsters were. Qin Guoli had already paid the debt. If he still wanted to cause trouble for him, he would have to think twice. The people in Lilai County were not that easy to bully. That place was famous for producing reckless outlaws. On the other hand, Qin Guang was beaten up badly in the Jiangyuan district branch, but he did not encounter any resistance. What made Su Lijing most furious was the crazy reports that appeared on the internet from 7 o'clock that night. Even if he had contacted the official Weibo account again and again, and the other party seemed to be very busy because of this matter still could not be resolved. Who the hell wants to mess with me? Aren't they afraid of my revenge? Su Lijing was also sitting in front of the computer. With the help of his secretary, he looked at the growing storm on the internet and fell into deep thought. Old Su, what should we do now? Su Lijing's secretary hung up the phone and looked at him helplessly. You're asking me what to do? Tell the person in charge of the Weibo company that if they can't suppress this matter in half an hour, I will make them pay the price. Su Lijing slammed the table fiercely. He was not joking. With his status in the Chinese economics world, it was not impossible for him to do something to disgust a mere Weibo company. They said they have tried their best. The secretary still wanted to say something. If they have tried their best, why are these things still on the internet? Su Lijing pointed at the title on the screen. Who is indulging Wang Ren? How many Wang Rens are there in this world? He roared angrily. The secretary was having a headache. This kind of matter was not something a small secretary like him could handle. What's the use of yelling at me? At this moment, his finger pressed F5 to refresh again. Then, his pupils contracted as if he had seen a ghost. He refreshed the page again. Finally, he screamed, Elder Su. Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage, both of them reposted the same Weibo post at the same time. I know you're talking about those two celebrities, but why are you telling me this now? Su Lijing slapped the young man hard in the face. Old Su. It's not like that. The young man covered his face and whimpered. What they forwarded was the scandals about Director Wang. What? Su Lijing froze. Jin Zhang's sudden participation in the battle caused this matter to instantly be pushed to a terrifying height. At this moment, the ones who were suffering the most were none other than the Weibo official censors. They, who had been working overtime through the night, stared at Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage's Weibo accounts. They moved their mouse to the block option again and again, but they did not dare to click on it. There was such a list in the celebrities' Weibo accounts, and it was not something that the lower-level staff could handle. Once a decision was made, it had to be reported to the higher-ups. It was said that there were people in charge of this matter at the highest level of the company. Without a doubt, Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage's Weibo accounts belonged to this category. They were the VIPs among VIPs, the fighter jets among VIPs. Not to mention the lower-level staff, even the vice president of the Weibo company, who was temporarily on duty, did not dare to breathe loudly. This company had been through at least 10 years of ups and downs, so it naturally had its own set of techniques and plans for public opinion management. It was also highly consistent with the relevant departments of the country. This time, it was an order from one of the subordinate departments of the relevant department that blocked Wang Ren's information. Then the problem was, what should they do when Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage joined the battle? It wasn't that their Weibo company could not afford to lose this popularity, but the backgrounds of these two celebrities were too special. This was simply inhumane. The vice president was on the verge of tears. The two of them were the left and right hands of the national idol. Was it really necessary to get involved in this matter? Even if they had a strong foundation and were not afraid of offending people as celebrities, they should not be involved in such ordinary matters. Under normal circumstances, celebrities' Weibo would have people in charge of managing it. Even if it was just a simple post, it would require the management team to consider it thoroughly. Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage were no exception. This kind of Weibo that could pollute the company's reputation was never something that Weibo company should worry about. From the beginning, the celebrity's management team should have killed it in the cradle. But this time, without any warning, these two superstars with a combined fan base of over 100 million suddenly joined the battle. Something even more frightening happened. Perhaps someone wanted to curry favor with these two, or perhaps it was a public figure from Gokyo University who ignited the first fire. When the second and third big verified accounts also brazenly reposted Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage's Weibo, an unstoppable trend started to spread. Then, the vice president received a call from the head of a certain public opinion supervision department. The other party only said one sentence: release the almighty Superman. The vice president hung up the phone, threw it aside, and pressed the landline button to call someone in. I've received a notice from the higher-ups to restore the almighty Superman's data. All the data? Yes, all of it. Then the vice president roughly knew what the other big shot, Su Lijing's attitude would be. His face was ashen. Forget it, since the sky was falling, let it fall. I can't hold it anymore anyway. The almighty Superman had been released. 5 minutes later, the news swept across the internet like a sudden clap of thunder. The Internet Water Army Company also didn't understand what had happened, but their professionalism was unquestionable, and they decisively followed up. Since then, 3 super internet celebrities, 2 superstars on the left and right, and an almighty Superman with a fan base of less than 10 million, but his popularity was not bad. These 3 hot Weibo accounts joined the battle at the same time. With these 3 accounts as the core, there were dozens of second and third-tier internet celebrities interspersed in. Further down, there were hundreds of public figures or small celebrities who more or less expressed their own opinions. Some people chose to believe, and their words were equally fierce against Wang Ren. Some people were skeptical, thinking that this kind of thing was too ridiculous. The Weibo company had already expressed that they could no longer continue to supervise, and even made it clear that they would let it be. Even if Su Lijing's phone was about to explode, he could only get a reply that they had not received a notice from the higher-ups. In the past, a middle-level leader of the Public Opinion Management Department who would grant almost all of his requests was Su Lijing's student, but now he didn't even dare to pick up Su Lijing's phone. On the other side, Secretary Ma and Wu Shan came to the Jiangyuan district branch together. Without any hesitation, they went straight to the detention room. I have figured out what happened to Qin Guang, but I don't understand. This is the business of the Transportation Management Department. Why did you, the Jiangyuan district branch, come and join in the fun? Is there something wrong with your brain or something? The issue of the internet runner has never been settled. Who gave you the courage to directly arrest him? Secretary Ma walked forward quickly as he pointed at the head of the Jiangyuan district branch's director and scolded him. The poor director looked at Wu Shan, who was standing beside Secretary Ma without saying a word, and thought to himself, "Old man, hurry up and say something. Now that Qin Guang is in such a pitiful state, it is a trick that we made up together." Wu Shan, on the other hand, was looking at his nose and heart. From time to time, he would look at Secretary Ma with a look that said, "Brother, hold on." Bang. Seeing Qin Guang lying on the iron bed in the detention room, Secretary Ma was furious and slammed the table. "What did I say before? What did you promise me? Now that you beat him up like this, how am I going to explain this to others? Who gave you the courage to do this? The higher-ups of the internet company had just participated in the visit, and you caused such a big trouble for me. Who are you slapping in the face? What kind of director are you?" Secretary Ma bombarded the head of the Jiangyuan district branch's director. Qin Guang sat up blankly. Before he could say anything, the big shot in the province came up to him again. "Young man, I have figured out what happened to you. If you have any grievances in your heart, you can tell me. I will personally uphold justice for you." After coming closer, Qin Guang finally recognized the person in front of him. As a young man in the new era, he often watched the news. How could he not recognize this person? But here comes the problem. This big shot, who is a busy man, suddenly came out and said that he will uphold justice for me, the little brother who was arrested? To be honest, I am fine here now. I don't need you to uphold justice for me. Qin Guang couldn't help but look at Wu Shan for help. "Uncle Wu, this is not the way we thought before. How should I deal with it now? Didn't we agree that when Su Lijing couldn't bear the pressure and successfully launched the public prosecution the day after tomorrow, he would let me go out to perform?" Wu Shan, who was standing behind Secretary Ma, shrugged his shoulders. "Don't ask me, I don't know what is going on either. Little Qin, come, let's go to the hospital first. Don't keep your words in your heart. Do you think that the people in the Jiangyuan District Branch Bureau did something wrong in the procedure?" Before the others could say anything, this Secretary Ma, who was waiting for this moment, actually held Qin Guang's hand and led him outside. Qin Guang didn't want to go out. "I have already played the trick of injuring myself to gain the confidence of others. Can you not spoil my plan?" Wait a minute. Qin Guang struggled. "Who the hell can tell me what to do now? Is this old Master Ma the Great Lord of Heaven? If I really go out with him now, won't the slap on my face be in vain?" Seeing that he couldn't move Qin Guang, Secretary Ma turned around and slapped the chief of Jiangyuan district. "What did you do to little Qin? You scared me to this extent." Chief Jiangyuan almost cried. "Mr. Secretary, let's talk about this slowly." Qin Guang saw the chief was slapped. "Forget it, I should go out. If I don't go now, I don't know how badly this hidden double agent will be punished. It's not easy for him to be slapped at his age." Chapter 416. Secretary Ma finally left after spending an hour in Wujing City Hospital. Before he left, he repeatedly asked Wu Shan to take care of Qin Guang's emotions and not let him feel wronged. "How can Qin Guang feel wronged? I have put in so much effort to make myself so miserable and you just let me out. I feel wronged, but I can't tell you." "Uncle Wu, what's going on?" Qin Guang asked. Wu Shan shook his head. "You don't know? How would I know if you don't know? I don't even know him. I thought you contacted him. You did the right thing by not letting Su Lijing's matter slip. Although Secretary Ma is not in the same system as Su Lijing, He and Su Lijing were classmates in the past and they are very close. If you tell him, I'm afraid he will plead for you on behalf of Su Lijing. By the way, will there be any problem with Director Luo? The Director Luo that Qin Guang mentioned was the person from the Jiangyuan district branch who was implicated for no reason. Wu Shan shook his head. It's fine. If Secretary Ma really wants to hold him accountable, he will not slap him in the face in front of you. It was Wu Shan's profound way of doing things which Qin Guang could only listen to in one ear and out the other. Qin Guang and Wu Shan discussed for a while more. There was a change in the plan, but fortunately, Secretary Ma did not notice anything. He did not link Qin Guang to the Gokyo University's Wang Ren incident. After leaving the hospital, Secretary Ma's secretary finally sent this big event to him. In addition, Su Lijing was also desperate, so he called Secretary Ma. Secretary Ma did not promise anything easily, but he did feel that it was not good for the public opinion to be in an uproar on the internet. He was about to report this matter to the public opinion regulator in Beijing, but he suddenly reminded the Secretary General that Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui had reposted the Weibo posts against Wang Ren. Secretary Ma had been in the political circle for many years, and when Jiang Yage called him personally, he remembered Qin Guang's strange behavior in the Jiangyuan district branch. He thought for a while and guessed what had happened. He hesitated for about 10 minutes and did not call Su Lijing in the end. Secretary Ma had long heard about the good-for-nothing son of a famous scholar who was once his classmate. However, in his position, there was no need for him to poke his nose into things that he shouldn't be involved in. Su Lijing had always taken good care of Wang Ren. He only limited Wang Ren's influence to the small area of Wujing University. But old man, you seem to have hit an iron plate this time. I can't protect you and your son anymore. Qin Guang was lying on the hospital bed playing with his mobile phone in boredom. He still did not understand why Secretary Ma came to save him out of nowhere. He tried to find out everything but he could not find any reason. Until Jiang Yage called him, he finally understood what had happened. Jiang Yage of course called to ask for credit. Qin Guang did not expect that she could have such a terrible influence, nor did he expect that she would ask for such a big favor just to help him. How is it? Praise me quickly. Jiang Yage on the other side of the phone said with a smile. Qin Guang took a deep breath and thought, I really can't praise you. Do you know how resolute and courageous I was to use the Kirin arm on my face? Can you understand how I feel at this moment? You definitely don't understand. I can't explain it to you. Oh right, how much hatred do you have with that Wang Ren? Sister Shirui and I read the long article you posted word by word. We felt that it was very sci-fi. It didn't seem like a real person. It was like something out of a novel. Jiang Yage once again showed her skill of asking for credit. Reality is often more nonsensical than novels. That's right. But we believe you, so Sister Shirui and I forwarded it to you. This really needs to be thanked. You and Jin Shirui forwarded it? How can I accept it? I can't thank you with words. Jiang Yage snappily said, shouldn't I say that? How can you say that you can't thank me? Well, that's right. Aren't you going to do something to express your gratitude? Jiang Yage giggled. An idea flashed in Qin Guang's mind. Why don't I repay you with my body? Jiang Yage immediately replied, okay. What the hell? Can't you be a little more reserved? I'm joking. Qin Guang hurriedly added. I'm very serious. After chatting with Jiang Yage for a while, Qin Guang happily hung up the phone. Although he was afraid of her crazy knife most of the time, chatting with her really helped to ease his mood. But after Jiang Yage hung up the phone, she wasn't very happy. She looked at Jin Shirui who was looking at her anxiously and said, why didn't he ask me for help? Jin Shirui snappily glared at her. Do you really want to be his protector? Just now your grandfather called the landline. I picked it up. He asked me to help look after you a little. He also felt that Su Lijing's behavior was a little too much. But our identities are sensitive. It's not good to get involved. It's enough for us to follow his Weibo and help him create some momentum. Jiang Yage nodded and then sighed. You're right. Jin Shirui added, actually we don't need to do anything else. As long as Qin Guang's things are completely true, Su Lijing is done for. Not long after hanging up the phone with Jiang Yage, Tang Ying came in again. Wujing City Hospital was her territory. How could she not know that such a special patient had come in? Tang Ying taught him a lesson on behalf of Wu Tong and secretly showed him a text message. It was Wu Tong who asked her to pass on the message. As expected, Wu Tong was held back by Wu Shan in Beijing. She didn't know if it was a coincidence or not, but Wu Tong was sent to a closed-off secret training center. She couldn't contact the outside world at all. It wasn't easy for her to find an opportunity to borrow someone's dedicated phone to send a message to Tang Ying. Wu Tong reminded Qin Guang again and again not to act rashly before she came back. Qin Guang just looked at her and smiled. Not only did I move, I couldn't stop. Instead, he told Tang Ying to keep it a secret from Wu Tong. Tang Ying was exhausted. I really don't know what's going on in your head. Although it looks like you're doing it with a sense of justice, is it good for you? Tang Ying should have gotten off work a long time ago, but she didn't leave. Since Wu Tong couldn't come back, she took over the role of Wu Tong's sister, and volunteered to take care of Qin Guang. As she spoke, she handed the peeled fruit in her hand to him. Qin Guang quietly looked at the clock on the wall. It was almost 12 o'clock. He groaned. My hand hurts. I can't move. Sister Tang Ying, can you feed me? It really hurts? I'm fine. Pretending to be sick in front of the doctor? Aren't you afraid that I'll operate on you? Of course not. I'm not pretending. I'm really sick. I'm seriously injured. I look fine on the outside, but my bones are about to break into pieces inside. Although she was still spitting, Tang Ying still fed him. Sister Tang Ying, I know that I'm being silly. Who wouldn't want to live a happy life? But there's nothing I can do about it. I've read in a novel in the past. What's this called? When your thoughts aren't clear, your cultivation will suffer. Qin Guang spoke with a mixture of truth and lies. Cultivation. How am I supposed to cultivate to become an immortal? I'm not joking with you. There really are immortals in this world. Qin Guang said. Tang Ying saw how confident he was. Aren't you afraid that you'll cut your tongue off by saying this in front of the youngest genius doctor in the history of Moreland's Medical College? Qin Guang suddenly raised his head and looked at her. Hey, let's not talk about whether there are immortals or not. Let's assume that there really are immortals. If there really is such a person who can turn you into an immortal, he'll tell you that as long as you're willing to follow him, he'll grant you immortality and eternal youth. He'll grant you everything you want. He'll even be able to travel in space and extinguish a star like the sun with a single punch. Are you willing to follow him? Why are you so serious all of a sudden? Tang Ying asked curiously. She hesitated for a moment. Fine. Let's assume that what you said is true. Who would refuse such a great offer? A Tang Ying am just an ordinary person. I won't be able to resist this temptation. Then what if this person is very fickle and has many women, and you're just one of them? Qin Guang asked again. Tang Ying smiled coolly. I don't know what others think, but in my opinion, in the face of becoming an immortal, it doesn't matter how many women that person has. Why are you so serious? Don't tell me you're talking about yourself. Qin Guang chuckled. That's right. It's me. The person lying in front of you is the legendary Lord of all realms. As long as you follow me, I'll pluck down all the stars in the sky for you. I didn't believe Wu Tong when she said you were a lecherous little brother. I even defended you, but now I've seen through you. Tang Ying blushed and pinched his hand. She seemed to recall what happened after this guy ate the super powerful tonic soup that night. You haven't taken enough advantage of me, have you? Qin Guang nodded happily. Yes. Go look for your sister Wu Tong. Tang Ying pinched him again. You're already making up stories to take advantage of me. Strangely enough, if someone else said that to her, she would only feel annoyed. But when it came to Qin Guang, she never got angry. Perhaps it was because she had left a very good first impression when they first met, or perhaps it was because they had already done things on a larger scale, or perhaps it was because her best friend, Wu Tong, had made it clear that she wanted to give herself to him. Tang Ying only felt shy when faced with this guy's teasing, but she didn't feel the slightest bit unhappy. While Qin Guang was lying in the VIP ward pretending to be a patient enjoying the warmth of a woman, Su Lijing was on the verge of breaking down. Chapter 417. With the Internet Water Army's actions as the first point, Wang Ren's matter once again became a hot topic after a day of silence and brewing. However, it was not hot enough at that time and not many people paid attention to it. Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage followed the trend and posted on Weibo as the second-time node. This matter suddenly heated up and swept across the entire Weibo in a short period of time like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. As more and more people paid attention to it, the matter seemed to form a chemical chain reaction and brewed on its own. Until half an hour ago, the first web portal began to publish this matter as a special topic on its homepage, and the heat was once again raised to another level. The previous hot topic was the Chinese men's soccer team entering the World Cup. Wang Yinu's special topic was called, It Takes 10 Years to Grow Trees and 100 Years to Educate People. Be a worm in the towering tree of modern education. Sohu News' special topic was called, Reality is Crueler Than Fiction. Who will uphold justice for the dead? China News' special topic was the most eye-catching. Who is Wang Ren? Who is the Wang Ren behind Wang Ren? China News, as the official mouthpiece, actually put such a title on their homepage. The meaning of the title was very obvious. The wind had changed. Finally, under Qin Guang's brewing and manipulation, this matter went from a spark to a prairie fire, and it could not be stopped. Water can carry a boat, but it can also capsize it. Su Lijing had been in business for half his life, and the only stain was on Wang Ren. In the past, no one had uncovered him, or even if someone did, it was not powerful enough. Su Lijing could easily use his personal influence to eliminate it. Until today, when Qin Guang almost flipped the table with his life, he could no longer hide it. In the middle of the night, Wang Ren received a phone call, and then his face turned ashen. His connections in the procuratorate had privately informed him that Wang Ren's prosecution would officially start tomorrow, and this meant that he could no longer leave the country. I told you to leave immediately. You said you don't want to leave. Now it's all over. You can't leave. Su Lijing slapped Wang Ren's face hard, but this did not quell his anger. Then he received another call. It was from a junior police officer from the Jiangyuan district's sub-bureau. He only informed him of one thing. Qin Guang was taken out of the sub-bureau. Secretary Ma led the team and Wu Shan accompanied him. When Su Lijing heard this, his heart turned cold. It's over. Dad. You must help me. You have to save me. I know I was wrong. I don't want to go to jail. You can't let me go to jail. Dad, you must have a way, right? I'll be fine, right? Wang Ren even forgot about his injuries and knelt down in front of Su Lijing. Su Lijing gave Wang Ren a pained look. Do you regret it now? When I told you to leave, why didn't you take it seriously? I am your son. There was no reason for him to go to jail over such a small matter. I didn't expect this. Wang Ren said tearfully. This time Su Lijing did not correct him. He was not in the mood to do so. Wang Ren's aunt also ran out of the study. Attention, you can't just ignore this. It's been so long, why are you bringing up the past? Go find someone, you have so many friends. They could all be of help. There will be no problem, right? You only have one son, Sharon. Sharon is still young. Who hasn't made mistakes? He can't go to jail. Su Lijing looked at the mother and son, echoing each other, and felt extremely tired. He really did not understand what he had done wrong. Why was his son so useless? Was he still young? He was already over 30 years old, and this was still considered young. Look at the children of other families. Which one of them was like him? They were past 30 years old and still accomplished nothing. Not only that, but their minds were always filled with dirty and rotten ideas. You really are an idiot. I told you so many times not to cause trouble in school. You like women, there are so many expensive ones out there. Why can't you control your crotch? If you didn't touch Zhuo Jingxi, if you didn't provoke Qin Guang, you wouldn't have become like this. Su Lijing raised his leg, wishing he could step on Wang Ren's back. But in the end he could not bring himself to do it. Forget it. Now that things have come to this, I can only sell my old face. Don't worry, I will think of a way. In fact, Su Lijing had never thought that Wang Ren would become like this because of his words. I will think of a way. Su Lijing indulged him again and again, cleaning up after him again and again. This made Wang Ren, who was already a bad person, even more indulgent. He always felt that no matter how big the mess he made, Su Lijing would be able to handle it for him. At least in the 10 years before today, Wang Ren's trick had been tried and tested. How could there be karma without cause in this world? Qin Guang was discharged from the hospital early the next morning. He first quietly went to the hotel room that he had arranged with Deputy Director Han to meet with the family of the boy who was seriously injured and eventually died in a vegetative state. So far, the only things that could really be used to convict Wang Ren were this boy, the nurse, and Ding Lu. The other so-called corruption and the so-called unspoken rules in the school, although hateful, could be said to be consensual. It could be said that there was a problem with his lifestyle, but it was not enough to convict him. At least if they wanted to touch someone with Wang Ren's background, these things were not fatal. Currently, Ding Lu's family had lost contact, and the nurse was unwilling to come forward. The only people who could file a lawsuit as the victim's family was actually the boy's family. The family had originally given up on struggling. Now that Qin Guang had taken the lead to help them get revenge, they were naturally grateful. Qin Guang did not say much. He only told them to be at ease and boldly sue. As long as they sent Wang Ren to court, he would handle the rest of the matter. In the afternoon, the court summons was delivered to Wang Ren. However, Qin Guang received an unexpected phone call. It was from Su Lijing. Su Lijing asked to meet with him. Originally, Qin Guang did not want to respond, but after discussing it with Wu Shan, he finally went. The two arranged to meet at a tea house in the center of Wujing City. When Qin Guang arrived, Su Lijing had already sat down in the private room of the tea house. After a few days, the old man who was originally aggressive seemed to have aged 10 years. His spirit was not as good as before, and there seemed to be a lot more white hair on his head. Su Lijing personally poured a cup of hot tea for Qin Guang. Qin Guang did not take the initiative to open his mouth. He just watched this giant of the economics world humble himself to do this seemingly meaningless thing. Qin Guang, stop. I can give you whatever benefits you want. Su Lijing gently pushed the teacup in front of Qin Guang with both hands. Qin Guang looked down at the tea in the cup. It was clearly overflowing with tea fragrance, but he did not have the slightest appetite. Vice Principal Su, I have already done this much. Do you think it's possible for me to stop? What do you want? What benefits does this bring to you? Su Lijing saw that lowering his head was not going to work, so he slammed the table. Qin Guang laughed. What? Seeing that lowering your head is useless, you want to play the old trick of threatening me? I'm sorry, I don't buy it. If I was really afraid of you, I wouldn't have meddled in this matter from the beginning. Do you think I really want something? Su Lijing looked at Qin Guang with a scrutinizing gaze. Of course. Everyone in the world comes for benefits. No one rises early without benefits. You should understand one thing. Even if I, Su Lijing, don't hold this position anymore and become an unemployed old man, if you offend me to death, I can still make it difficult for you to take a single step in the future. You know the risks involved. Without enough attractive benefits, why would you do such a strenuous and unrewarding thing? Qin Guang picked up the cup and splashed the tea on the floor. Vice Principal Su, you don't understand me and I don't expect you to understand. If I say that I did all this for no reason other than to have a clear conscience, you definitely won't believe me. But this is the truth. If you insist on asking me what I want, I can only tell you this. What I want is an eye for an eye. To have a clear conscience. After saying that, he turned to leave. Stop right there. Su Lijing suddenly stood up. Qin Guang turned back. What else do you want to say? I know your background. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because someone is backing you up. You don't understand. You are breaking the rules. Even if you can really hurt me, you will lose your value after this, and you will be abandoned like a broken broom. Su Lijing was not stupid. He vaguely guessed that Qin Guang had the support of a hidden political enemy. He understood the meaning of this too well. Indeed, Qin Guang didn't understand Su Lijing's reasoning, nor did he want to understand. However, he wasn't a fool, so how could he not understand Su Lijing's unspoken words? Old Mr. Su, I truly admire your imagination, but you've guessed wrongly. Okay, I thought you would have a little bit of repentance, so I came today. But now it seems that I wasted my time again. After saying that, Qin Guang was about to leave again. Don't think that I will wait for death. Su Lijing looked at Qin Guang's back and slammed the table. Chapter 418. Qin Guang turned around and slammed the table even harder than Su Lijing. Old Mr. Su, put away your stubborn temper. That's right, I'm a small fry, but small fry also have small fry principles. I've never been so determined to do something that has no meaning to me as I am now. But I've never thought of backing down. You know better than me what kind of bastard Wang Ren is. Someone should have stood up long ago. In the past 3 years, I've tried to convince myself not to be a good person, not to do something that's strenuous and unrewarding. I almost succeeded. I almost turned myself into a rat hiding in a turtle shell. But now I'm very thankful. I'm thankful that I brought out enough courage and determination. I didn't become the person I hated the most. Yes. This doesn't do me any good at all. It could even be said to be endless trouble. If I had to say where I went wrong, it was that I shouldn't have known about Ding Lu. I shouldn't have read Ding Lu's will. I shouldn't have listened to that despairing recording. A person has to be willful once in their life. I'm going to be willful today. I'm going to King skin you and Wang Ren today. I'm going to be the person who should have stood up long ago. Use whatever methods you have. I want to see if this world is really that dark. I can't stand this darkness. I want everything I see to turn into white. I wasn't that kind of person in the past. Thank you and your good son for letting me see the extreme of filth and ugliness. Yes, you, Su Lijing, have done many things for the country and the people, but that can't be a reason for you to allow Wang Ren to be lawless. Ding Lu's family was so poor that they couldn't even afford to eat, they didn't receive any help from you. But under your connivance, Wang Ren destroyed everything for her. From your body to your soul, you've been completely destroyed by your good son. Even if you had such a great contribution, it had nothing to do with Ding Lu. What you owe her, I'll help her get back. I really have to thank you. If it weren't for you, I, Qin Guang, would definitely choose to shrink my neck and be a selfish person for the rest of my life. But now I can't do it. I have to be a good person. Su Lijing was so angry that his entire body trembled. He pointed at Qin Guang and said, You little bastard. Qin Guang laughed. He turned his head abruptly and moved his face closer and closer, staring at Su Lijing. Su Lijing subconsciously backed away, but his head hit the wall of the private room. Qin Guang suddenly reached out his hand, grabbed Su Lijing's collar and lifted him up. You call me a little bastard? An old bastard like you dares to say that to me? Don't you often wonder why my son is so useless? Why can't he save me some trouble? Can't you understand this logic? No, you might understand, but how could you not? If it weren't for the fact that you feel that you're great, that you're superior to others, that the Su family should naturally ride on the heads of nobodies, how could you turn a blind eye to Wang Ren's actions? If it weren't for you, how could Wang Ren have become such a person? You, Su Lijing, are the real #1 bastard. The biggest bastard. Old bastard. Bald donkey. I feel like I'll dirty my mouth if I say another word to you. After Qin Guang said that, he threw Su Lijing to the ground, slammed the door and left. Su Lijing coughed violently and slowly stood up. The 2 bodyguards who had been guarding outside rushed in. Elder Su, are you all right? Su Lijing waved his hand and coughed twice. I'm fine, I'm fine. He did not have the mood to let these 2 bodyguards cause trouble for Qin Guang. Of course, these 2 might not have the guts to do so. He was indescribably disappointed. Things had finally reached a point where there was no turning back. If Qin Guang really wanted something, perhaps they could still negotiate. But what he was most afraid of was that Qin Guang was a hothead. What he was most afraid of was that this guy was just doing what Su Lijing saw as meaningless justice. This was a king belief. This was especially scary. 70 years ago, there was a group of people who were not afraid of death for this country. That was the feeling that Qin Guang gave him now. Su Lijing had never thought that he, who had stood proudly in this country and even in the economics world for so many years, could speak freely with the country's leaders, would one day be pointed at his nose and scolded by a student, and he could not retaliate. Qin Guang and Su Lijing had fallen out. He also knew that this unrepentant old man would make a move soon, but he did not expect it to be so soon. An hour later, the prosecution lawyer that Lu Fei had helped to contact suddenly broke the contract and no longer accepted the lawsuit. Apart from that, the family of the boy who originally hated Su Lijing and Wang Ren changed his mind for some reason. Without the victim's family to sue, the original procedure had to be overturned again. Mr. Qin, Deputy Director Han, we don't want to sue Wang Ren anymore. The boy's father looked at the livid Qin Guang and Deputy Director Han, his eyes flashing. Old Han was furious. Did Su Lijing contact you in private? Are you guys stupid or what? What do you call this? This is called asking a tiger for its skin, this is called helping a tiger do its evil. We put in so much effort to create a good situation. We risked our futures and lives to help you seek justice, and now you're telling us that you want to get cold feet? Thank you for your help all this time. We know what's right and wrong, and we also know that you've sacrificed a lot, but... The boy's mother's eyes reddened as she spoke. Qin Guang looked at the family's extremely awkward expression and asked, If I'm not wrong, Su Lijing told you 2 things in general. First, even if you win the lawsuit and send Wang Ren to jail, Wang Ren won't die and you won't get many benefits. When the time comes, he'll keep thinking of ways to make trouble for you. Second, if you give up on suing, he'll promise you all sorts of benefits. The boy's father's face stiffened. Wei Tianwang had guessed everything correctly, but of course he could not admit it. He shook his head. No, it's not like that. It was just an accident. It has nothing to do with Wang Ren. What a joke. I've already shown you the surveillance footage. Now you're telling me that this matter has nothing to do with Wang Ren? Are you worthy of your son's soul in the netherworld? Don't you feel pain? Don't you feel pain? Don't you hate him? Qin Guang was so angry that he laughed. Sometimes you really couldn't bring yourself to love some people. It's not that we don't want to, but that's Su Lijing. Even if we send Wang Ren to jail, there's actually not much meaning. Xiao Song is already gone, but our lives still have to go on. He won't blame us. Qin Guang and Old Han looked at each other. Although they didn't know how much benefits they received, It wasn't hard to imagine how strong the coercion and temptation that could make a family give up on the hatred of losing their son. The two walked out of the hotel room dejectedly. Before they closed the door, Guang vaguely heard a sentence from inside. "That Su guy said there's still half, right? We'll use this money to build a new grave for Xiao Song. He'll forgive us, right?" The family's sudden change of heart turned the originally good situation into a mess within a day. "It's all my fault. I didn't expect Su Lijing to work on the victim's family. I originally thought they were the most reliable people. Sai, if I knew this would happen, I would have hidden them away and not let Su Lijing's people come into contact with them." Old Han blamed himself. He looked at Guang, who also had an ugly expression. This young man didn't seek fame or profit. He only provided manpower and money to uphold justice. Instead, the victim's family was the first to retreat. On the other hand, as a dignified deputy director, he was only responsible for such a small matter, and now he was in trouble. Compared to him, he was ashamed of his inferiority. How disappointed must he be in his heart at this moment? Guang smiled. "It's okay. If it doesn't work, I'll sue myself. Although it doesn't seem like I have a position, it's fine as long as I can send Wang Ren to court. If he really can't go to court, I have other ways." "What are you going to do?" Old Han was shocked. Guang didn't say anything, but his gaze was firm. On the other end, Guoming, who had gone to a few law firms in a day, also called dejectedly. In the big Wujing city, or even the whole country, there wasn't a single law firm that was willing to take on this matter. Su Lijing had already gone all out. He wanted to take drastic measures. Although Wang Ren was currently in a precarious situation due to the uproar on the internet, Su Lijing's years of operation were not for nothing. Apart from that, the news of Secretary Ma standing up for Guang had already spread in a small circle. However, for those who weren't well informed, they didn't know what relationship Secretary Ma and Guang had with Su Lijing. They only treated this matter as a personal grudge between Su Lijing and the internet celebrity known as the Almighty Superman. As for Jin Lijing and Jiang Fei's inexplicable participation in the battle, perhaps they had been duped, or perhaps they had nothing better to do. In any case, the two of them never had a black mark and no one dared to talk about the two of them, right? Even if the Huaxia News Network had begun to point out Wang Ren by name, Wang Ren was backed by Su Lijing. Putting aside the fact that he spoiled his only son, his personal influence in all aspects of the country couldn't be ignored. Therefore, when Su Lijing began to personally stand up and protect Wang Ren, not only the law firm that Lu Fei had contacted, but all the large law firms in the country had to think twice. At this time, the ones who were the most conflicted and in pain were the procuratorate. Originally, they couldn't withstand the pressure from all over the place as well as the direction of public opinion, and were prepared to launch a public prosecution against Wang Ren. However, at that time, Su Lijing hadn't really made a move yet, and the boy's family was also radical enough with the help of Guang. However, suddenly that family didn't make any moves. The procuratorate was also in a dilemma, but Su Lijing personally asked someone to call them. For a time, Guang and Old Man Han couldn't do anything. Chapter 419. Are we just going to let it go like this? Old Han looked at Guang in despair. The popularity of Wang Ren's case on the internet would eventually die down. This was also the characteristic of the internet. Every day at every moment there would be all kinds of hot news. News came and went quickly. Even if there was a big explosion somewhere and everyone knew about it for a while, after a while, this hot news would be gradually overshadowed by the torrent of information explosion. People's attention would be diverted, and their hatred and disgust would be forgotten. Even if the world was turned upside down, if one could not take advantage of the time when the wind blew to settle it, it would only become an inconspicuous past that was buried by the wind and sand. Without Wu Shan adding fuel to the fire, Guang wanted to rely on his own strength to complete this matter and send Wang Ren to court. Even if it seemed justified, the world's principles could not be won just by standing on the side of reason. Unwilling to give up, Guang posted another Weibo post using the Almighty Superman. This time he flipped the table again. I thought that I could uphold justice with my moral standing, but now I realize that I'm powerless. I'm just an internet celebrity. Other than shouting on the internet, I can't do anything. My friend told me that the victim's family backed down and wanted to withdraw the lawsuit. He couldn't find a law firm willing to take the case, and the documents sent by the prosecutor's office were also empty promises. I don't understand what's going on with this world. Why can't the wicked get the punishment they deserve? I used to think that it was because the ugly was not exposed to the world. Now, as a first-tier internet celebrity, I take out the ugly things and let them bask in the sun, let the sun purify the ugliness of the world. But now I realize that I was wrong. I'm just an incandescent light. If someone cuts off my electricity, I have no light. Now that I have electricity again, I'm starting to struggle again. I'm starting to court death again. But it's meaningless. In the video you can see I'm an omnipotent almighty Superman. On the other side you can't see I'm just a useless person who can't do anything. From tomorrow onwards I will be a blind man. I no longer need my eyes to find the light. From tomorrow onwards I'll be deaf. I don't want to hear the mournful and hateful wails of vengeful spirits. From tomorrow onwards I'll be a cripple. I'll live the rest of my life in the illusion with a leg that's covered in mud and rotten. From tomorrow onwards I'll be a madman. Since I can't change anything, I'll just make myself crazy. That way I might be able to live a more relaxed life. Is this really the only way? Parking his car alone outside Zhujiangxi's neighborhood, Qin Guang pressed the send button. In fact, he didn't know what the point of posting this Weibo post was, but there was too much anger in his chest that he couldn't calm down. 5 minutes later, the first call came from Jin Shiyue. Qin Guang really didn't expect it to be her. On the other end of the phone, she was silent for a moment, and finally said inexplicably, "I'm sorry." "Why are you saying sorry to me?" Qin Guang didn't understand. Jin Shiyue took a deep breath. "Actually, I can help you, but No. Don't be like this. I'm already very grateful that you've helped me repost the Weibo post, but I really can't ask for more from you. It was me who was nosy and wanted to plunge into this mud. There's no reason to drag you guys into this. I know that you and Jiang Yage have some background, but this will indeed cause you a lot of trouble, right? I also know that what's in front of me isn't just Su Lijing or Wang Ren. Maybe it's a big net. It looked like I was going against Su Lijing alone, but what I wanted to provoke was the entire net behind him. The price I had to pay was too high. I'm barefooted, so I'm not afraid of wearing shoes. You guys have already helped me enough." Jin Shiyue hung up the phone. Jiang Yage was so nervous that she didn't know where to put her hands and feet. She put her hands between her legs and said shyly, "What did he say?" Jin Shiyue sighed. "He doesn't want us to care about him anymore. I feel ashamed to see him. I don't even have the courage to call him. I'm such a terrible woman. I don't even dare to protect the man I like." Jiang Yage suddenly got angry with herself. Jin Shiyue squeezed her hand. "Yage, don't be like this. We didn't do anything wrong. But I still feel sad. When I think of him being unhappy now, I feel sad." Jiang Yage said, and her eyes turned red. Jin Shiyue turned her face away. Jiang Yage was straightforward, and she had already said her feelings. In fact, who could understand how uncomfortable Jin Shiyue was at this time? Jin Shiyue suddenly said heavily, "Well, I have an idea. No matter what happens between him and Su Lijing this time, if he really loses, Su Lijing will take revenge on him. At that time I can protect him. I won't let him suffer any more grievances. No one dares to touch him." Jiang Yage, whose eyes were red, suddenly froze. She turned her face and looked at Jin Shiyue blankly. "What idea? I can't think of it. I also want to call him again to help him contact someone, but won't it make people think that there's something between us? My grandfather is very sensitive. The last time I had a meal with him, he tried to find out if I had fallen in love with someone. I have more freedom than you. Why don't we say that he's my boyfriend? That way no one will suspect you?" Jin Shiyue looked at Jiang Yage seriously. Jiang Yage was stunned at first and then immediately felt happy. She felt that something was wrong. "Sister Shiyue, you're sacrificing too much." Jin Shiyue waved her hand. "It's okay. We're not children anymore. What's wrong with falling in love? But, no buts. I've already posted it on Weibo." Sister Shiyue, are you crazy? There's no need to say this kind of thing on Weibo. It's enough to let some people know in private. If you post it like this, our fans will explode." Jin Shiyue shrugged. "After singing for so many years and acting in movies and TV shows for so many years, I'm also a little tired. Anyway, if those fans can understand it, then so be it. If they can't, I don't mind. Do we lack money? At most, I'll just take a break. Even if I really have a boyfriend who can say anything. Besides, do you really think you can release the news in a small circle? Don't you think about my dad? If we don't directly post it online and catch them off guard, you and I won't even have a chance to talk. We can only post it on Weibo." "What did you say?" Jiang Yage snatched Jin Shiyue's phone and read it word by word. "I'm in love. The boy I like is 3 months older than me. His surname is Chen. He's a third-year university student. He's not in the entertainment industry. He's the brightest ray of light in my life. Since the first time I saw him, I've fallen in love with him. Please give me your blessings and don't disturb him. You scared me to death. I thought you were going to post a photo of him. Jiang Yage patted her chest after reading it. Jin Shiryu smiled casually. I'm not stupid. Can't you see that he's most afraid of fame? I don't even dare to say his name. But people who understand will naturally understand after seeing it. It's enough to subdue Su Lijing. All right, Sister Shiryu, thank you. Jiang Yage returned the phone to Jin Shiryu. She didn't know what to say. Dragging his exhausted body and mind, Qin Guang returned to Zhuo Jingxi's dormitory for the first time in a few days. The girls were still there to keep watch. Although Qin Guang didn't call them at all in the past few days, they could guess how much Qin Guang had done in the past few days from the scattered rumors on the internet. Zhuo Jingxi had been on Weibo staring at the almighty Superman. When this limerick called "Starting Tomorrow" was posted, Zhuo Jingxi understood. Things didn't go as smoothly as he imagined. The resistance he encountered was stronger than he imagined. At the end of the day, he was still a student. He was the one who insisted on stiffening his neck, straightening his shoulders, and shouldering this burden that he shouldn't have. How much disappointment and pain must he have felt in the depths of his heart to be able to write such a thing? Zhuo Jingxi's impression of Qin Guang was never one who liked to show off his literary talent. He didn't have any literary talent either. Let's just forget about it. I believe that after this incident, Wang Ren won't dare to do anything in school anymore. Zhuo Jingxi began to waver. At this moment, the doorbell rang. Zhuo Jingxi stood up abruptly. Could it be that he was back? When she opened the door and saw Qin Guang with red eyes and his head hanging down, Zhuo Jingxi's heart almost broke. You're finally back. Zhuo Jingxi couldn't care less about being reserved anymore. She rushed forward and hugged Qin Guang. It's been hard on you these past few days. Feeling Zhuo Jingxi's warm embrace, Qin Guang's originally empty heart was suddenly warmed up. He then looked up at Fan Lingshan, Hua Ling, and Zhong Yu, who were looking at him from the side. Qin Guang had an illusion that he was the man who shouldered the storm on his shoulders. This was his home, the harbor of his soul. Don't ask me anything. I don't want to talk about it. Let me rest. I'm a little tired. Squeezing out of Zhuo Jingxi's embrace, Qin Guang forced a smile at the crowd. He rarely showed such a weak expression. It was really too hard on him outside. He had done everything he could to this day and was about to succeed, but because the person he could rely on the most reneged on his words, it was all for naught. He was really tired. Admittedly, he could try to find Ding Lu's family again, but it was probably too late. As long as he gave Su Lijing a chance to breathe, he would probably send Wang Ren away even if he had to bear the immense pressure. He was really at his wits' end. After dinner, Qin Guang wasn't in the mood to care about the storm outside. He told everyone that he was a little sleepy and went into Zhuo Jingxi's bedroom. He lay on the bed and played with his phone. He was scrolling through Weibo out of boredom when he saw the Weibo post that Jin Shiryu had just posted. He thought he was blind. Chapter 420. Jin Shiryu, who had never been involved in any scandals, actually publicly admitted that she was in love. It was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. In less than an hour, the internet had completely exploded. The news came too suddenly and caught people off guard. It was like a sudden clap of thunder. Her love partner was just a university student. For a moment, many fans were heartbroken. Some fanatical fans even clamored on the internet to threaten her with death. They said that their goddess was no longer pure, and that there was no meaning in their lives anymore. It would be better to drag their goddess to death with them. Of course, there were also some rational fans who replied to persuade Jin Shiryu. They told her that she was not even 21 years old yet, and that it was the peak of her career. There was no need to put herself in the cage of love so early. There were also a small number of fans who expressed their understanding of Jin Shiryu's decision. They were grateful that their goddess was not like other actresses. They were obviously already married or had changed countless boyfriends, but they still pretended to be pure in front of their fans. They said that they liked this kind of Jin Shiryu, this kind of left and right hand. Yes, there was. No, there was no. They liked that she was always sincere, and they liked that she did not lie or pretend. This Weibo post did not damage their goddess's image in their hearts. Instead, it made them even more fanatical. They felt that for Jin Shiryu to post this Weibo at the peak of her career, she and her boyfriend must be really in love. Celebrities are also people. Celebrities also have the freedom to love. We support it. It was not only these fans who were crazy, but also the major entertainment media. In the past many years, there had been speculation about the scandals between Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. However, some of the media who followed the trend had cleverly kept their mouths shut after they were unlucky. It was also proven that although the two of them were mixed in the big vat of the entertainment industry, no one could make irresponsible remarks about the love lives of the two women. Not to mention the scandals, even in the TV movies, the two of them had always used a stunt double for kissing scenes. They rarely even held hands. Many people even suspected that the two girls who had grown up together had an abnormal sexual orientation and did not like men at all. But today this incomparably explosive news came from Jin Shiyue's own mouth, and the meaning and concept were different. In the past, no one dared to guess or say anything, but now that she has admitted it herself, of course, we have to make a big deal out of it. Entertainment information websites, gossip Weibo, gossip websites, newspapers and magazines, and even major video websites followed up immediately, trying to analyze Jin Shiyue's Weibo in depth. At this moment, Jin Shiyue's best friend, Jiang Yage, also spoke. "Congratulations, Sister Shiyue, for finding your true love. I've also met handsome Chen, he's a good man. Sister Shiyue, you beat me to it." His heart ached for himself. I won't say any more, Sister Shiyue hit me." Jiang Yage's Weibo brought this matter to an even higher level of popularity. Who didn't know that these two people were inseparable from each other? Jin Shiyue did not speak nonsense. This was really not an April Fool's joke. Jin Shiyue's family called immediately, but she only replied with such a simple sentence. "Dad, don't say anything, I'm serious." Jin Shiyue's father had originally prepared thousands of words, but all of a sudden he choked back. You really? Who is it? Why didn't you tell me first? Anyway, he's a very, very good boy. For him, I cannot be a star, I can leave the screen, I can put away the microphone, I'm willing to live a simple life with him facing the sea and flowers blooming in spring. I didn't tell you in advance because I was afraid that you wouldn't be happy, wouldn't agree and wouldn't let me say it. Anyway, when the time is right, I'll bring him to you." Jin Shiyue hung up the phone and Jiang Yage sized her up for a long time. "Sister Shiyue, you..." Jin Shiyue smiled. "If I don't say it seriously, how can I deceive them? I have to post another Weibo, the fans' comments below are going to explode. I've experienced too much life under the spotlight, I've also seen a lot of good boys, but there has never been anyone like him, who could give me the courage and impulse to give up everything to be with him. I know that there will be a lot of people who don't understand me, but I don't expect to be understood by everyone. As an artist, as a public figure, this is something I have to face. I can choose to keep it a secret, but I can't do it. I clearly love him, but I still have to hide it from all of you. No matter if you scold me or if you don't pay attention to me in the future, I will say it loudly, I love him. I am like this. I am Jin Shiyue, I am an artist, I am also a woman." Pressing the send button, Jin Shiyue winked at Jiang Yage. "How is it? Did I write it well?" Jiang Yage was extremely envious. "Sigh, I really wish I was the one who posted this Weibo." Far away in Wujing City, thousands of kilometers away, Qin Guang was nestled in Zhuo Jingxi's fragrant bed, and he was already a little drowsy, but then he was shocked by Jin Shiyue's Weibo. He was so sleepy that he almost ran away. "Surname Qin? The light in my life. It's not that I'm narcissistic, but no matter how I think about it, this is King talking about the old man. Does this mean that she's publicly confessing to me in front of the whole world? Although it feels good, it's too sci-fi." But he immediately realized something was wrong. Even if it was really one of the two people who posted this, there was no reason for it to be Jin Shiyue. It should be Jiang Yage, right? Did I open Weibo the wrong way? Or could it be that all along Jiang Yage was just a cover, and the one who really liked him was Jin Shiyue? He blushed on his own behalf when he said such a thing. He really couldn't suppress his curiosity, so he opened WeChat to take a look. After seeing the message from Jin Shiyue, he instantly understood what was going on. Jin Shiyue had helped him a lot. Qin Guang would never have dreamed that Jin Shiyue would help him like this. For a 21-year-old female artist to publicly admit her relationship and post such mushy words, Qin Guang could roughly imagine the price she had to pay. But with her Weibo, coupled with her identity and background, it really became Qin Guang's death exemption gold medal. Qin Guang knew that no matter what, he didn't have to worry about Su Lijing's revenge. It was just that the price seemed a little too high for Jin Shiyue. It's not worth it. Don't you have an easier way to do it? If your background is really as scary as the rumors say, or just because Secretary Tianma personally came to the Jiangyuan branch office to rescue me, you don't have to do this. Qin Guang really couldn't understand Jin Shiyue's super help. But no matter what, he had to remember Jin Shiyue's kindness. Thousands of words couldn't express it all. In the end, he could only reply with two simple words, "Thank you." After replying, Qin Guang clicked on his almighty Superman's Weibo again. The fans' comments were as usual, each with their own opinions. Some people encouraged him, feeling that he was doing what he had always wanted to do, but didn't have the courage or ability to do it. Similarly, some people slandered him, saying that this is the era of fast food consumption. "We like you because you can use videos to surprise us and let us pass the time. We don't need you to bring us any deeper thoughts. Our lives are already unhappy enough. You'd better only share happy things with us. After all, you're just an internet celebrity. You're just an actor. Don't make yourself out to be a saint. You can't change anything and you can't teach us anything. Just give up, and become the almighty Superman that we used to like, and not the public intellectual who can't extricate himself." There were also some young or impulsive young lawyers who were willing to stand up and provide legal assistance, but Qin Guang knew that it was useless. Unknowingly, he actually fell asleep. When he opened his eyes again, it was already late at night. He didn't know how long he had slept. Zhuo Jingxi was lying next to him, covered with the same blanket as him. There was a faint light coming from her direction, and it seemed that she was still playing with her phone. What time was it? Where were the others? Why did she directly fall asleep? She seemed to have changed into her pajamas. Qin Guang gently twitched his nose, feeling the faint fragrance of the shower gel coming from Zhuo Jingxi's body. With the faint light from her phone, he looked in Zhuo Jingxi's direction and keenly noticed that the pajama straps on her shoulders were loosely hanging. Only pajama straps, no bra? She wasn't wearing anything else? What's going on? A man and a woman, sleeping together in the middle of the night? "Teacher Zhuo, why didn't you wake me up?" He didn't know if it was an illusion or real, but Qin Guang felt that the fragrance in his nose was getting stronger and stronger. The room in the middle of summer seemed to be a little hot. Zhuo Jingxi moved slightly, pulled the blanket covering her down a little, and then slightly twisted her body in Qin Guang's direction. Her face was still facing the phone screen, and he didn't know what she was looking at, but she was exceptionally focused. Her silk pajamas were too loose, and Qin Guang's sharp eyes drilled past her body. He could even clearly see the slight goosebumps on the edge of the arc. He secretly swallowed his saliva, feeling that the situation was not good. "No, I can't go on like this. I have to think of a way to remind her that I'm already awake." Qin Guang got up slightly and moved forward a little, pretending to look at her phone screen curiously. It was actually Jin Shiyue's Weibo post. Feeling the movement behind her, Zhuo Jingxi suddenly turned around to look at him. "You're awake?" She was so calm. Qin Guang answered blankly, "Yes." Zhuo Jingxi smiled again and instead moved closer to Qin Guang a little more. She placed the phone screen in front of him, pointed at it and said, "The third-year student with the surname Chen mentioned in this Weibo post, is that you?" The smell on her body was even stronger. Qin Guang's eyes looked at Zhuo Jingxi's phone, but his mind was a mess. The distance between the two of them was too close. As if deliberately to let Qin Guang see the words on the screen clearly, Zhuo Jingxi's body was tilted too much, so much so that one of her more voluptuous hemispheres than the average person's was pressing on Qin Guang's shoulder. "Yes, it's me, but that's not our relationship." Qin Guang responded as he moved to the other side, forcibly increasing the distance between the two of them. Although there was a little devil in his heart that was reluctant to leave, he still felt that it was not right to go on like this. It was too wrong. Zhuo Jingxi seemed to have sensed his thoughts. She covered her mouth and chuckled, then moved closer to him without changing her expression. "Why are you explaining it to me?" Chapter 421. "Oh, I wanted to explain it to you, so I explained it to you." The conversation between the two of them was very boring. No wonder the two of them reposted your Weibo post. It turns out that you already know your left and right hands. I really couldn't tell. In the darkness, Zhuo Jingxi's tone became a little strange. The faint light from the phone screen made her face look a little hazy. Qin Guang told Zhuo Jingxi everything about how he got to know his left and right hands. "I really couldn't tell that you're so charming. It's just a life-saving debt and they're helping you like this. How big of a celebrity is she? In order to protect you, she often tells people that she's in a relationship." As Zhuo Jingxi said this, she giggled and pointed at Jin Shiyue's second Weibo post on the phone screen. She teased, "Look at what she wrote. I love him. Even though so many fans are protesting, she still says that's just how I am. Alright, what did the previous post say? He's a ray of light in my life. I'm getting goosebumps all over. I already said that she's helping me. Why don't you believe me? What do you mean by life-saving debt? How many lives do people have in this lifetime? you're making it sound so simple. Qin Guang was getting a headache from her joking tone. He gritted his teeth and reached out to poke her armpit through the silk pajamas. Zhuo Jingxi burst out laughing. Don't scratch me. It's itchy. Wow. Qin Guang was about to stop, but she giggled and said, anyway, as a woman, I'm guessing that Jin Shirihua definitely likes you. You can't pretend to like her. You're still talking. He couldn't let her off. Qin Guang extended his demonic claws again, and Zhuo Jingxi smiled as she resisted. One attacked and the other defended. Finally, Qin Guang's hand still managed to burrow into her armpit, and he scratched desperately. Zhuo Jingxi's tickling was unbearable, and she struggled desperately to break free. Qin Guang was having fun, so how could he let her escape? His hands tightened, and his body subconsciously pressed in her direction. Finally, something happened. Qin Guang's left hand, which was originally going to scratch her armpit, reached the wrong place. It went under her armpit of her pajamas and suddenly grabbed something plump and elastic. The two of them were momentarily stunned. Qin Guang moved his fingers slightly. His fingertips seemed to have touched something again. His mind was in a state of panic and blankness. How did it become like this? He hurriedly pulled his hand out forcefully. His nails seemed to have accidentally scratched somewhere they shouldn't have. Zhuo Jingxi moaned. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Qin Guang defended himself. Zhuo Jingxi was silent for about 5 seconds before she said with a trembling voice, It's okay. Silence, awkwardness, and a strange atmosphere filled the entire room for a moment. Both of them were caught unprepared by this sudden turn of events. Where are they? The atmosphere was too embarrassing. Qin Guang decided to say something to divert attention, even though he couldn't get the softness and hardness of his palm out of his mind. Zhuo Jingxi's voice calmed down a little. Hua Ling and Zhongyu went back to school. Lingshan is sleeping next door. Qin Guang said, Oh. Then there was another mysterious silence. They didn't know how much time had passed, but Qin Guang's eyes were still wide open. Teacher Zhuo, are you asleep? No, don't call me teacher. Call me Jingxi, Zhuo Jingxi replied. Oh Jingxi, thank you. I know you're just trying to make me happy. Zhuo Jingxi suddenly propped herself up and put her head in front of Qin Guang. So, are you happier now? Looking at the face in front of him, Qin Guang's heart suddenly beat very fast. I am a little happy. That's good. Zhuo Jingxi smiled. She suddenly moved her mouth forward and kissed him gently on the cheek. Consider it a reward for your hard work these past few days. Qin Guang's face heated up when he was suddenly attacked by her. What's there to reward me for? It's not hard work. I said it so nicely, but in the end I thought things were too simple and easy. I thought that I was an internet celebrity and that I knew some amazing people so I could make evil people get what they deserve. But in reality, in the end, I didn't do anything. I'm really a good-for-nothing. Zhuo Jingxi suddenly reached out and covered his mouth. Don't talk about yourself like that. You're still young and you're still a student. This isn't something you should care about. You've already done very well. Otherwise just forget it. This time you've already caused Su Lijing and Wang Renhe a lot of trouble. He won't appear in school anymore. This is already very good. Qin Guang suddenly became angry. He pushed Zhuo Jingxi's hand away and sat up straight. He waved his arms and said loudly, How is this not good? Don't comfort me. And don't pity me. I even hated that I couldn't quietly go and break his neck. I finally understand. Yes, it's my fault. I shouldn't have relied on the law from the beginning. I should have thought of a way to break his neck from the beginning. Zhuo Jingxi was shocked by Qin Guang's sudden anger. She jumped up from the bed and hugged him tightly. Don't be like this. Don't be impulsive. What do you mean don't be impulsive? It's because too many people are always around me telling me not to be impulsive, telling me not to do this, not to do that. It's such a simple thing, but it has to be like this. Is there a point? Is there a point? Qin Guang really wanted to say it out loud. Wang Ren was not an ordinary person. He had Su Lijing behind him. Qin Guang was not an ordinary person either. He had God behind him. Although this God was crazy and unreliable, she would definitely not let him die. Enough. I've had enough. I'm tired of the game of power. They forced me. Tonight, right now, I'm going to drag that bastard Wang Ren out. I'm going to crush his bones into powder inch by inch. I'm going to make him regret being born in this world. If Su Lijing dares to say another word, I'll kill him too. Qin Guang said as he jumped off the bed. Zhuo Jingxi hugged him tightly from behind. She didn't care that her thin pajamas couldn't cover her body, and she didn't care that her plump body was pressing hard on his back. No matter what he said, Zhuo Jingxi didn't plan to let go. Her mind couldn't contain any other thoughts. She only thought, it's over. Qin Guang is going to be driven crazy. I can't let him do stupid things. Because of Qin Guang's excessive anger and agitation, his adrenaline was being secreted violently. This caused his body to violently tremble, which further confirmed Zhuo Jingxi's guess. Zhuo Jingxi hated herself for being so useless. She blamed herself even more. If it wasn't for her, Qin Guang wouldn't have met Wang Ren in the first place. If he didn't start a feud with Wang Ren in the Building Loop Academy, there wouldn't have been such a thing. Originally, Wang Ren had already disappeared from everyone's lives, but it was she who called Qin Guang to her laboratory, which allowed Wang Ren to appear in front of Qin Guang again. Like a bolt of lightning striking the ground, the two of them were destined to have many conflicts when they met. All of this is my fault. If it wasn't for me, he would still be that simple and innocent university student. He would still be the cheerful Qin Guang who didn't care about anything. Now he's going to kill someone. He's going to kill someone. He's still so young. Whether it's as his friend or his teacher, even if I have to sacrifice my life, I can't just watch him walk on this road of no return. This is murder. Let go. I won't let go. Even if you break my hand, I won't let go. I won't let go even if I die. Qin Guang tried to struggle, but he found that Zhuo Jingxi's 10 fingers were tightly clasped in front of him. If he didn't use force, he wouldn't be able to break free. But if he did that, she would definitely be injured. Why are you stopping me? Let go of me, okay? I promise I won't leave any evidence behind. I have a way to kill without spilling blood. It's just killing someone, it's not as serious as you think. Zhuo Jingxi bit down hard on Qin Guang's shoulder. Even though Qin Guang was tough, the bite still hurt. Before he could speak, Zhuo Jingxi let go first. What are you saying? Are you crazy? What do you mean it's just killing someone? I can't talk to you, I can't. Let go of me first. Dream on. Zhuo Jingxi didn't know where she got the strength from, but she pulled him from behind and flipped him over onto the bed. She flipped over again and sat on top of Qin Guang. What are you doing? Teacher Zhuo. With the moonlight shining in from the window, Qin Guang could vaguely see Zhuo Jingxi's expression, which was even more ferocious than his own. The anger that was burning in his heart just now quickly faded, but the secretion of adrenaline became even stronger. Zhuo Jingxi was sitting on his waist, and the two of them were inevitably rubbing together. When Qin Guang saw her movements again, a certain part of him couldn't stop reacting. Zhuo Jingxi felt something hard under his body, but she didn't flinch at all. Her legs used even more strength to ride him. Nothing. You shut up. As she spoke, she picked up the silk pajamas from her waist. Less than 2 seconds later, she threw the pajamas to the side of the bed. At this moment, the young and beautiful body was completely exposed under the cold and elegant moonlight. Her snow-white skin reflected the bright light, dazzling Qin Guang's eyes. The beautiful breasts of the tall, plump and round young woman suddenly burst out. What was she trying to do? Aren't you very capable? Aren't you not afraid of killing people? Come on. Come at me. Aren't you a man? Aren't you very manly? Come on. Come at me like a man. Why are you daydreaming? Don't be a coward if you're a man. I can't deal with you today, can I? Are you going crazy? Zhuo Jingxi glared fiercely at Qin Guang. Come on. I'll go crazy with you. Wasn't it just a small setback? Don't you understand that the future is long? Wang Ren could escape for a while, but could he escape for the rest of his life? You're still so young, how could you foolishly think about killing people? Didn't you think about the consequences? Are you going to be able to face your parents and the people who care about you? As she spoke, she grabbed Qin Guang's palm and pressed it against her chest. A mysterious sensation came from his palm. It was plump and delicate. Qin Guang was completely stunned. Chapter 422. Teacher Zhuo, don't be like this, don't be like this. Qin Guang understood what Zhuo Jingxi was thinking. She was really afraid that he would kill someone, so she wanted to use her method to calm him down. This method of hers was invincible. It was unstoppable. Alright, he didn't actually want to block it. As long as he was a man, he couldn't block it. This move was too ruthless. Qin Guang's hands weren't tied up. If he exerted force, he could break free, but how could a person fight against the most genuine desire in the depths of his heart? That soft and velvety touch felt so real. In the night sky, her skin was cold yet delicate. Countless goosebumps appeared on his skin, urging the most genuine desire in the depths of his heart. Whether it was his body or his soul, They were all warning him that if he dared to pull his hands away, he would break his own arms. He had been a virgin for almost 21 years. The theoretical knowledge he had learned from the small films could be said to be knowledgeable, but his actual combat experience was basically zero. Every time he woke up in the middle of the night and wet his pants, he would fantasize more than once that one day, he would be able to fight for real. That was every normal man's dream. How could he withstand Zhuo Jingxi's presumptuous and direct assault now? Of course, if it was another person, such as a rouge girl who suddenly rushed out of the street and said, "Brother, 150 for the night," Qin Guang wouldn't really lose his composure. But this was Zhuo Jingxi. She wasn't a random girl he didn't know. She was someone he had known for a long time and knew through and through. He had even secretly peeped at her countless times. He still remembered the first time she walked into the classroom and appeared in front of everyone as the new counselor. The entire class of boys who had been making a ruckus just a second ago were shocked into silence by her appearance. Her maturity and beauty, her voluptuous and tall figure, every unintentional movement of hers could unconsciously tug at the heartstrings in the boys' hearts. Moreover, the self-proclaimed unparalleled Lord Guang was actually a blank piece of paper when it came to the matters between men and women. Zhuo Jingxi was about to ruthlessly draw a thick and heavy stroke on this blank piece of paper. I've said it before. Don't call me Teacher Zhuo. Call me Jingxi. I'm not qualified to be your teacher because I like you. Zhuo Jingxi felt that she had never been so brave in her life. Are you looking down on me? Are there too many charming girls around you? I know that I'm not as cute as Sun Xiaoxuan, I'm not as heroic as Wu Tong, and I'm not as outstanding as Lu Fei who can help you a lot. I'm even less qualified to be mentioned in the same breath as Jin Shiyue. I'm just a terrible woman who always brings you trouble. I'm just that bad and I'm just that unremarkable. I'm even your teacher. I shouldn't have any extravagant hopes for you, but I have no choice. I don't know why, but I really like you. You think I didn't notice you peeking at my chest that day in my office? Actually, I knew everything. I just wanted to show it to you. Do you think I'm terrible right now? Do you think there's such a shameless woman in this world? But it doesn't matter, I don't care at all. At least for now, I don't want you to leave this bedroom. She really said a lot in one breath, and every word struck Qin Guang's heart. Her hands were so forceful that even Qin Guang was worried about hurting her. No, I didn't think that way. I don't understand the situation right now. Why don't you let me take a shower and calm down first? Qin Guang said with a trembling voice. He still wanted to escape. This was his last struggle. If I let you escape now, will you still come back? I'm not a child anymore. I understand these things. Don't think that I'm being impulsive. I've already planned this. Don't worry, I won't regret it. But no buts. This time it was Zhuo Jingxi's turn to be angry. Didn't you say arrogantly that you wanted to provide for me? You're scared at the last moment? Isn't what I'm doing now part of my job as a mistress? That's just a lie to trick your parents, Qin Guang argued. Zhuo Jingxi smiled. But they believe it and so do I. Whether you believe it or not, we all believe it anyway. Come on, today is the right time. From tonight onwards you'll be a man and I'll be a real woman. As she spoke, she reached down and pinched the top of Qin Guang's pants. She continued to pull it down and pinched it hard. I want to see how long you can hold on. Don't grit your teeth and hold on. Aren't you full of energy? Aren't you so emotional that you want to kill someone? Come on, use your murderous courage on me. You're not even afraid of killing someone, so why are you afraid of a woman like me? Qin Guang really admitted defeat. If he had known that after losing control of his emotions in front of Zhuo Jingxi tonight, she would have developed such determination and become like this, he would definitely not be so stupid as to say the true thoughts deep in his heart in front of her. He would have chosen to quietly get up and run away, then wring Wang Ren's neck. Dear Teacher Zhuo, you're my teacher. It's because I respect my teacher that I want to vent my jealousy in front of you. That's because I respect my teacher, but I really didn't expect you to calm me down like this. I regret it so much. But there's no medicine for regret. In the face of Zhuo Jingxi's wave after wave of attacks, he couldn't resist. He was not a saint at all. He was Wu Tong and Tang Ying's perverted younger brother, a perverted boy who would look into Zhuo Jingxi's collar whenever he got the chance. He was a perverted classmate who would be so excited about a bet with Wen that he couldn't sleep for days. He was a perverted brother who would regret letting Lu Fei go in Xiangjiang time and time again. He was a perverted savior who would complain about Jiang Yage's teasing in his heart while putting his hand into her collar to take a Patek Philippe from her. It wasn't that the National Army wasn't interested, but that the Communist Army wasn't strong enough. Alright, Zhuo Jingxi was strong enough today. Something big happened. Feeling his pants being ripped off and thrown off the bed, Qin Guang silently turned his face to the side. This is so King embarrassing. I can easily flip over and throw her off the bed, but every inch of my bones and muscles is singing in excitement. His adrenaline, which had never stopped, once again exploded. Teacher Zhua, do you really have to call me teacher? Do you like it? Well, today I'll give you the most important lesson in your life, my perverted student. As Zhuo Jingxi spoke, she threw away the last triangular restraint on her body and grabbed his hand. Oh my God. Oh my God. I swear I'll never let any woman see the old man's weak side in the future. Qin Guang silently shed 2 lines of tears. He never thought that the old man's reputation would be destroyed in a moment like this. At first he resisted, lost and confused. She was in pain, but she took the initiative, but she was also reserved. When it really happened, she also felt that it was unbelievable, but she didn't feel the slightest bit of regret or fear in her heart. Later, his eyes turned red, and he used all his strength to transform into a huge wave on the coast, wave after wave crashing against the stone crevices on the shore. He didn't want it to be like this, but not everything and every emotion could be controlled. Just as Zhuo Jingxi hoped, he turned the resentment and unwillingness he had hidden in his heart these days into external emotions and released them ruthlessly. Qin Guang clearly went from passive to active, and his attacks became fiercer and fiercer, but Zhuo Jingxi's pain gradually disappeared. Under the impact of the waves day after day, year after year, her will melted like snow and melted into a river of spring water. She no longer thought about what the two of them would be like in the future, and she no longer thought about all the possible or real competitors. Fragments of such thoughts occasionally appeared in her mind. Why do I think so much? Anyway, I'm also a kept woman, right? Anyway, that's what Mom and Dad both hoped for, right? Very soon, her thoughts would be shattered by round after round of impact, and she might as well not think about anything else. After a long time, the clouds dispersed, and the thin blanket had long been kicked to the ground. Zhuo Jingxi lay on the bed weakly, hugging Qin Guang's neck. Her breathing was still heavy, her face was flushed, and her sweat soaked the bedsheets. Are you tired? If you're tired, let's sleep? Qin Guang said gently. You really don't mean what you say. You say you want me to sleep, but your hands aren't honest at all. Zhuo Jingxi grabbed Qin Guang's hand that was on her chest. Qin Guang's face turned red. You can't blame me for this. This is Vander Wu's power, I can't control it at all. Is that so? You're using Vander Wu's power? Then, please let my photocatalyst purify the dirty pollutants in your body again. After a short rest with her tired body, Zhuo Jingxi felt that he had recovered, and she actually turned around and mounted him again. Why don't you rest? You're already very tired. Qin Guang exclaimed. Zhuo Jingxi smiled charmingly. You're wrong. Women don't get tired when it comes to this kind of thing. I'm going to purify you completely. Let's see if you still dare to have murderous thoughts in your head. Come on. Don't you want to kill someone? Come and stab me to death. F***CK. This time, not only was Qin Guang blind, but he was also deaf. Is this still the Zhuo Jingxi I know? No matter how I looked at it, I didn't see such a dirty soul in the righteous teacher Zhuo's head. Actually, Qin Guang also knew that Zhuo Jingxi really planned to exhaust all his energy tonight, so that he would no longer have the mood and fighting spirit to kill Wang Ren. She was doing this for his own good. But could he say thank you for this kind of thing? Of course not. Although I have low EQ, I understand that there's no reason to say thank you to a woman for this kind of thing. It was impossible to say that he wasn't touched. But Qin Guang also knew that if Zhuo Jingxi didn't really like him as she said, no matter how big of a reason she had, she wouldn't have done this kind of thing. The small pool of blood that dotted the bedsheet, and Zhuo Jingxi's unfamiliarity, like an 80-year-old old man who opened League of Legends for the first time, proved that this was also her first time. Please call me Emperor Kai Huang. I really owe him too much. How can this old man be worthy of this? I can't say that. Since things have already come to this, I can only bite the bullet and admit it. Great Lord, please believe me. I, Qin Guang, am really an upright person. As he muttered in his heart, he flipped his body over like a surf, his claws reaching for the bedside table. He had made perhaps the best and worst decision of his life. After tossing and turning for an hour, the old man was a little thirsty, so he drank some water to calm his nerves. Then he grabbed the heavenly Holy Grail. Chapter 423. On average, humans drank 1.5 liters of water a day, which was about 38.5 tons of water in their lifetime. Qin Guang was a person who liked to drink water because he exercised a lot. Drinking water was such a common thing, but he had done it in a different way. 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 Of course, sometimes what awaited him could be a pit. Up to this day, there had been a lot of trouble because he was unprepared when drinking water. For example, the inexplicable pencil sharpening realm, and the even more inexplicable brass fireworks Qilin arm. But there had never been a time when he felt the feeling of his soul leaving his body, and his heart was so flustered. My good sister, my seventh uncle, my eighth aunt, I was just thirsty and wanted to drink a glass of water, but I really didn't expect it to be like this. Who would take precautions when they wanted to drink water, and who would care about what they were doing? As long as they didn't drink water while squatting, wouldn't it be fine if they didn't become the king of anal prolapse? Normal people wouldn't squat and drink water at the same time, okay? Then the problem was drinking water while doing something shameful with someone, and then entering the cup world. What kind of situation would he face? Qin Guang wasn't worried about this matter in the past. After all, he was an old virgin, a great magic guide, and a single dog that was tortured by those lovey-dovey scum every day. He didn't even have the slightest shyness, so who would be so bored as to worry about entering the world of cups at the right time? At least before today, before it really happened, he absolutely didn't think of it. He did occasionally imagine that one day, as handsome and domineering as he was, sooner or later, he would also get rid of the shameful ranks of the sorcerers, and become a winner in life who no longer needed a small piece of cake and waved goodbye to the 5 girls. After all, with the old man's handsomeness and cheekiness, he couldn't be a bachelor all his life. Sooner or later he would become a master. The person who spent the first night with him must be an earth-shattering beauty. She must have a pair of big watery eyes, and a waist that was more flexible and graceful than a water snake. Her chest couldn't be too small, and she couldn't be too thin because there was no meat. She also couldn't be too fat because there was no fat. She also had a good personality. She had to be able to go to the main hall and the kitchen. She gave me enough face outside, and at home she was able to get along well with me. Most importantly, she had to be a woman. Well, actually, it was fine as long as she was a girl. Today, the day of his dreams had suddenly arrived. Although it was sudden and he was caught off guard, he was still satisfied. Without Zhuo Jingxi, she wouldn't have met Wang Ren, Zhuo Jingxi wouldn't have fallen in love with Qin Guang, and Wang Ren wouldn't have hated Qin Guang. Without these reasons, when Qin Guang was feeling down today, Zhuo Jingxi wouldn't have taken the initiative to drag Qin Guang's distress into her heart and made up her mind to calm Qin Guang's overly excited and angry mood today. Everything was perfect until he took a sip of the water. Yo, young man, you're living a comfortable life, huh? Liuli was still sitting in front of her computer. She didn't even raise her head, but there was an unmistakable sense of mockery in her tone. Qin Guang looked at Liuli from afar and didn't dare to approach her. He should have a clear conscience, but he always felt that her words were sinister and meaningful. My soul is standing at the top of this white and flawless sea of clouds, but my body is doing such a shameful thing outside. This feeling is too strange. Let me enter the world in the cup at another time. Can we discuss this properly? Of course not. The Holy Grail never reasoned with him. At this moment, as far as Qin Guang could see, there were 3 magnificent and majestic statues of gods, a pencil that pierced the clouds, a white piano that was more than 100 meters long and wide, and a half alto that seemed to have gone through the vicissitudes of life and was filled with the aura of history. White threads that blotted out the sky spread out from the endless void and wrapped around the 3 statues like nebula chains. From the tip of the pencil, the leftmost key of the piano, and the left headlight of the alto, 3 thick streams of pure white aura were suddenly pulled out and shot into the clouds. They gathered in the sky above the sea of clouds and turned into a beam of strong light that fell from the sky, shining directly on Liuli's computer. This woman was still naked. She had been busy a while ago and she seemed to have some idea of what she was going to do, but was she addicted to not wearing clothes? There were clearly 3 statues here, and the power of faith that they provided should be enough to make some clothes, but she actually threw it all on the computer. But then again, she said that I'm living a comfortable life? Could it be that she was watching me from the beginning to the end? Damn, so shameful. Liuli rolled her eyes at him. Can you just let your imagination run wild like this? This empress has so many things to deal with every day, how would I have the time to care about this trivial matter between mortals? She was really thick-skinned, Qin Guang thought in his heart. Do you know what position you, little brat, have in my heart? Again, this emperor is really tall. Your head is too small. Look at this 3-inch piece of meat. I really can't arouse the slightest bit of interest in you. You don't even have the size to communicate with me. Save your breath. He didn't know if it was because Lioli had watched too many violent manga recently, but her words were more and more venomous and presumptuous. The time to be dragged into the next level of the world in the cup was getting closer and closer. Chen Guang didn't have the mood to dawdle with her anymore, so he moved a little closer. My dearest Lioli, can you tell me a little bit about what the world in the cup is? To be honest, I'm really panicking right now. Lioli finally raised her hand and made a pushing gesture. You damn pervert, stay away from me, don't dirty this empress's eyes. Please lower your head a little and have a little bit of shame, okay? Are you pointing a gun at this lady to scare people? Chen Guang lowered his head. F***ck, after all this time, not only was Lioli not wearing clothes, I actually wasn't wearing anything either. At least she still had some clouds to cover her embarrassment. My F***king indomitable spirit halberd was going to eat people, oh no, eat gods. I'll give you 3 seconds to turn around quickly, or else you'll have to wait to say goodbye to your little penis. This empress is really busy right now, I don't have time to deal with you. Just as she finished speaking, a roar came from the computer's sound system. Holy shit. A super godly massacre? Wasn't it rather busy? Can we not joke around? Can you be a little more considerate of me? I'm really nervous right now. The heavenly holy grail is too reckless. How can it let me enter the world in the cup at this time? I'm not F***king convinced. Lioli chuckled. Do you really want to know what it is? Really? Alright then, I'll tell you. What is it? Guess you're F***king? Before Chen Guang could finish his words, he was sucked into the test world of the world in the cup with a whoosh. When Chen Guang disappeared, Lioli, who had been sitting in front of the computer, suddenly had a gloomy expression. She gritted her teeth and didn't say anything, only slapping her own computer table. Bang. Ah, my computer. My super godly. My lustrous feather robe. Gone again. It was still that familiar time-space tunnel. Chen Guang kept flying forward with his head pointed. He really wished that this tunnel was a little longer, then he would have more time to think about life. If it's really what I'm most worried about, how should I face the rest of my life? I'm clearly determined to be an upright gentleman, why do I have to face such a dismal fate? I resisted the temptation again and again in the journey of life, whether it was a 150 renminbi overnight booking, a 400 renminbi fast food, a 1,500 renminbi business, or even an 8,000 renminbi entertainment. Even if I had more than 100 million in cash in my pocket, I never had any crooked thoughts. My purity moved the heavens and the earth. A man like me could make Lu Xiaohui feel ashamed of his inferiority in ancient times. It was only today that I fell for Teacher Zhuo's sneak attack for the first time. I haven't even tasted the sweetness of it, yet you, heavenly holy grail, want me to plunge into such a dirty and shameful cup world? It can't be, right? This is really the old man's first time. You still need to have a little bit of integrity, right? If you have something to say, then we can still be friends, right? Damn. Yeah, a mother f***er. You're playing for real. When Chen Guang really appeared in this new model that couldn't be described, couldn't be looked at directly, and couldn't be divulged in the cup, I just wanted to sing a song. The boundless horizon is my love. Flowers bloom at the foot of the continuous green mountains. Covering my face, covering my eyes, I can't see the vast expanse of whiteness between the sky and the earth. I can't see the countless plains at the end of the mountains and the sea. Cup, can't you at least give me a real person? Do you really want to do this, heavenly holy grail? There are so many of them I can't even count them all, and they're even clearly marked with impact strength from 1 to 99999. What are you trying to do? Besides, there's too many of them. 99999. Yes, I didn't see it wrong, it really is a 5-digit number. Can I get out of here alive? Chen Guang used to think that after obtaining the heavenly holy grail, he would definitely embark on the path of being the master of all living things, a domineering, cool, and nature-defying path that could change the world at any moment. Now, the heavenly holy grail was getting more and more powerful, and he had also mastered more and more cool skills. But he never expected that he would suddenly have a dream in the middle of the night and be dragged into the ditch by the heavenly holy grail again. This ditch was so deep that the bottom couldn't be seen. I've been really honest recently, why do you have to treat me like this? Do you really have to do this? I don't seem to have a choice, right? Bang. When a certain cup marked with impact strength 99,999 exploded, the emotionless electronic voice of the heavenly holy grail came from the sky. Pass, mission completed, the Redeemer has become the strongest pile driver in history. When thinking of specific adjectives, the omnipotent heavenly holy grail was stuck for a moment. Chen Guang's tears raised the surface of the lake within a radius of several hundred feet by a few meters. That's right, these were really tears and nothing else. After all, this was the world within a cup. Mercifully, he was only given a gun and not a bullet. Otherwise, he would have died 9,999 times. I don't want this title. I don't want to become the strongest pile driver in history. Chapter 424. He wailed in his heart. Although my body has been tainted, my soul is still upright. The heavenly Holy Grail did not waste any more words with him and sent him back to the sea of clouds in the next instant. After this farewell, when he saw Liuli again, it felt like a lifetime had passed. Qin Guang fell to the ground with a plop and did not want to move. Madame Liuli, my life has been ruined. Liuli, who was painstakingly rebuilding the computer, glared at him. No, your life has just begun. Qin Guang's face turned pale. Is that so? Is this my new life? Am I going to embark on the endless road of a pile driver in the future? Don't. Liuli shook her head again. It's nothing. You'll understand when you get out. Good luck. As soon as she finished speaking, Qin Guang exited the world in the cup. He was still holding the cup in his hand and had not even swallowed the water in his mouth when he felt an indescribable stimulation in his lower body. Unconsciously, it started vibrating at an extremely high frequency. It was no joke, the frequency of the vibration seemed to be 3 times higher than the Qilin armed Zhuo Jingxi, who was lying on the bed with her back facing him, screamed and fell forward. In an instant there was no sound. *CK. Qin Guang thought of the cup that he had exploded in the world in the cup and his heart skipped a beat. Something big had happened. He immediately covered his mouth with his hand to prevent himself from screaming out loud. No. Curry. Wash the motor. GG Sumida. Someone was going to die. He hurriedly lay down to see what was going on and murmured, Sister Jingxi. His heartbeat was also ridiculously fast. Of course there was no problem with breathing. He pried open her legs and examined them carefully. Fortunately, there was no explosion or blood. It was the normal kind. In short, there was no problem. He could not say more. Qin Guang heaved a long sigh of relief. Thank God, she fell forward too quickly and the kinetic energy had not accumulated to a terrifying level. The temperature did not rise either. It seemed that she was not injured. But why was she foaming at the mouth? He tried to shake her for a minute or two, but there was no movement. Zhuo Jingxi showed no signs of waking up at all. When he opened her eyes, it was all white. It was extremely frightening. Qin Guang straightened his body, his face full of confusion. What the *CK should he do? Who can tell me what to do? Has anyone encountered such a situation before? It was completely impossible. He lowered his head and looked at the spot on the bed that he was facing when he laid down. Damn it, why is there a hole as big as my dick? I didn't even feel it. I was only lying there for 10 seconds. What the hell is this hole? This was the Bai mattress that was famous for its quality. Lowering his head, Qin Guang looked at the thief, who was gradually scared out of his wits, and understood what Luli meant by wishing him luck. Has the old man become a human weapon? Although he knew that the products from the world in a cup would definitely be of the highest quality, but now that he had turned it into a diamond and turned it into the strongest pile driver in the world, it was too strong. Zhuo Jingxi did not wake up and Qin Guang's heart was in his throat. He was completely unprepared for this. Forget it, he had to hurry and send her to the hospital. He quickly got up and put on his clothes, then wrapped Zhuo Jingxi up and carried her on his back ready to go out. When he opened the bedroom door, a limp body suddenly slumped on the floor. Ah! Before Qin Guang could say anything, the person who fell in first cried out in shock. Qin Guang's face darkened. Lingshan, what are you doing? Fan Lingshan's face immediately turned as red as a ripe apple. No, nothing, I was just passing by. Passing by? I almost believed you. Forget it, I won't talk to you anymore. Stay at home and stay. I'll send Sister Jingxi to the hospital. Fan Lingshan exclaimed, Oh my God. Brother, you're so fierce? Aren't you just passing by? Kids shouldn't care about adults' matters. I'm leaving. Qin Guang did not want to waste time with Fan Lingshan at this time, so he carried Zhuo Jingxi downstairs in a flash. Kids nowadays were really not reserved at all. They could even do something like eavesdropping. Qin Guang had forgotten that he was actually only in his 3rd year and about to enter his 4th year. He was only 2 years ahead of Fan Lingshan. Fortunately, although Zhuo Jingxi still did not wake up after going downstairs, her heartbeat and breathing had gradually calmed down. She was only sleeping like a drunkard. Although Qin Guang did not know medicine, seeing that her condition was gradually stabilizing, he felt a little more at ease. That incident just now had really scared him out of his wits. Damn it, if I had known earlier, I would have studied medicine. As the owner of the Holy Grail, a man shrouded in the halo of a protagonist, it was not too much to ask that I know medicine, right? At least give me a needle and some random inner force and I'll just poke it into a person's body. Duong, wouldn't that be enough? Alright, this was actually too much. It was not that the Holy Grail was incompetent, but that its level was too low. At least there was no hope of seeing the spirit. Driving the phaeton on the road, he thought to himself, where is the nearest big hospital? Whatever, I can't go to Wujing City Hospital. He kept reminding himself. I can't go to the city hospital. That place is poisonous. I definitely can't go. *CK me. Why did I still drive here? Looking at the huge signboard of Wujing City Hospital shining brightly under the night lights, Qin Guang slapped himself. I clearly wanted to not come here, but unknowingly, I still feel that this is the closest and most reliable place. Forget it, since I'm already here, I can't just coincidentally bump into Sister Tang Ying every time, right? The current situation was definitely extremely awkward. Qin Guang stopped the car and jogged all the way to the emergency hall with Zhuo Jingxi on his back. As soon as he entered the door, he realized that he was fighting in the wilderness. What he was afraid of really happened. Tang Ying, dressed in casual clothes, walked over. She seemed to have just gotten off work as well. She looked up and saw Qin Guang rushing in with Zhuo Jingxi on his back. Qin Guang? What are you doing here in the middle of the night? Tang Ying walked quickly and came closer to take a look. Who is this? What's wrong? Qin Guang ignored her and continued to rush in. Nothing, it's just a small problem, a small problem. Small problem? Tang Ying was in disbelief. No matter how fast Qin Guang walked, she ran as fast as he did. She looked at the side of the unconscious Zhuo Jingxi's face. Tang Ying pondered. This was a very beautiful girl, probably about the same age as her. There seemed to be a strange blush on her face. Although she was being carried on Qin Guang's back, she could see that her figure was very good. She was tall and voluptuous. There's something fishy about these two. Tang Ying rolled her eyes and looked at Qin Guang, who was running away in a panic. She snorted inwardly. Your acting is terrible. It's already so late and the situation seems urgent. Let me help you. Tang Ying followed Qin Guang into the emergency clinic. Qin Guang wanted to reject her at first, but when he entered the clinic, he found that there were 3 male doctors sitting in the emergency room. He was at his wits' end. As the Buddha said, if I don't go to hell, who will? Half an hour later, Zhuo Jingxi was settled and slowly regained consciousness. Before Qin Guang could enter the ward to ask what was going on, Tang Ying put down what she was doing and came out to stop him. She looked at Qin Guang with a playful expression. Young man, you're living a good life. Qin Guang's mouth twitched. That sounded familiar. No, there's nothing good. What's wrong with her? She suddenly fainted for no reason. Let me go in and see what's going on? Qin Guang lied through his teeth. Tang Ying first took a deep breath, then suddenly stepped on Qin Guang's foot. Ow! It was the middle of the night and they were in the inpatient department. Qin Guang endured the pain and did not dare to scream. His lungs were about to explode. Tang Ying was not satisfied after stepping on his foot. She reached out and poked his forehead with her finger again and again. You're pretending. Continue pretending. What do you mean by suddenly fainting for no reason? The person standing in front of you is Tang Ying. She's the most advanced individual in Wujing City's hospital this month. She's the miracle doctor who won an average of 1 silk banner every month. Tang Ying. You think you can hide it from me? Qin Guang hung his head dejectedly. I can't hide it anymore. Big sister, can you just tell me what's going on? I'm really worried. Now you're worried? Didn't you faint for no reason just like me? Why don't you give me another one for no reason? Tang Ying's finger kept poking his forehead without stopping. Qin Guang was depressed. He did not know why, but after being lectured by Tang Ying, he could not muster up his courage. After venting her anger, Tang Ying finally calmed down and resumed the appearance of a doctor. Alright, I'll tell you. The patient's condition is due to an overly intense stimulation in an extremely short period of time, causing the excessive secretion of hormones, which further leads to the impact of consciousness. The body, in order to protect itself, cut off its thoughts in a short period of time, which is the phenomenon of fainting that you saw. To put it bluntly, he was overly excited when he was having sex. There won't be any sequelae, right? Is there any physical injury? Qin Guang asked as he shrank his neck. Tang Ying rolled her eyes at him. I was almost injured. Alright, stop quibbling. I know it's you who did it. Let's not talk about anything else. Don't you think you're too inconsiderate of the fairer sex? She was just having a melon today. Can't you be a little more restrained? I used to think that you were a good person, but today I realized that I was really blind. Qin Guang panicked. What do you mean by that? Nothing. Haven't you been busy making life difficult for Wang Ren and Su Lijing? To think that I was worried about you when I saw you getting beaten up like that a few days ago. In the end you. Tell me, what's your relationship with the patient? Tell me clearly. Tang Ying said with her hands on her hips. Actually, she was in no position to ask Qin Guang about this matter. So, the moment the words left her mouth, she also realized that something was wrong. Wu Tong, let me watch you. Tell me the truth and I'll be lenient. Resistance will be severe. Qin Guang sighed. It's a long story. It's hard to explain in a few words. If it's hard to explain in a few words, then say it in 10,000 words. Anyway, if you don't tell me clearly today, I won't let you go, Tang Ying said. Seeing that he could not avoid it, Qin Guang told Tang Ying everything that had happened in the past few days, from when he left the hospital to when Su Lijing finally made his move yesterday. He told Tang Ying everything that had happened. Chapter 425. Yesterday I was so disheartened that I was about to go crazy. You know that I've killed Pastio and the other bandits, so I'm really capable. Yesterday I planned to kill Wang Ren by myself. Before Qin Guang could finish, Tang Ying pushed him hard. Are you crazy? Qin Guang's eyes widened. Damn, that sounded familiar. Don't be rash. I don't have that thought anymore. I really don't. He quickly explained. Tang Ying patted her chest. That's good. I'll continue. At that time I didn't think it through and blurted it out to Teacher Zhua. That's right, she's my class counselor. Actually, that's how my conflict with Wang Ren came about. Qin Guang spoke for about 10 minutes before he clearly explained everything from beginning to end. Tang Ying smacked her lips. In other words, you and Wang Ren had nothing to do with each other, but because of you, Teacher Zhua, you became enemies with him. Then, in the middle of the night, your brain short-circuited and you went crazy. You wanted to kill someone, so Zhuo Jingxi used this method to stop you, right? Qin Guang nodded. That's right. Fine, she succeeded. It's all my fault. I'm too weak. Sigh. Tang Ying sighed. She didn't know if she should blame Qin Guang for what happened. Zhuo Jingxi did nothing wrong. As for Qin Guang, he was actually a hot-blooded, normal boy. He seemed to be a virgin, so it was understandable that he couldn't resist the temptation. No matter who it was understandable that they would be depressed in such a situation. Seeing that Qin Guang was still depressed, Tang Ying comforted him. Don't blame yourself too much. It's not your fault. Relationships between men and women are about mutual consent. Zhuo Jingxi is quite pretty, so she must like you too. It's normal that you couldn't resist it. It's really an ill-fated relationship. I don't know what to do now. After messing around for so long, there was finally someone willing to talk to him. With his shoulders slumped, Qin Guang helplessly replied, I never expected that things would turn out like this. What should I do in the future? Bah. Do you think I don't know how happy your little brother is right now? Tang Ying stepped on his foot again. Qin Guang jumped. It's beautiful, but I'm still very confused. Perplexed? Isn't it enough for you to do it once? Why did he do it a second time, and it almost made his soul leave his body? What a green lotus in the pharmacy. How fierce were you at that time? As Tang Ying spoke, she glanced down at Qin Guang's lower body. Her face reddened as she recalled the unspeakable night they had spent together. She thought to herself, that bastard looks quite ferocious. That night, I almost broke my hand from exhaustion. Maybe he really is that terrifying. This. Qin Guang sighed again. It's a long story. Where do you get so many things from? It's a long story. Qin Guang lifted his head to look at her. His mind was spinning. What kind of words should I use to tell her that I've become the strongest pile driver in history? Wouldn't this be too sci-fi? Would she think that I'm crazy? I can't tell her about the world in the cup. So what should I say? After doing push-ups with my little penis every day for 3 months, I've become bald and stronger? But I'm not bald. Seeing the constipated expression on his face, Tang Ying suddenly thought of something. Her face paled and she said, could it be, what? Qin Guang stared at her, thinking, what's wrong with your imagination? Why do you look like you've thought of a solution for me? Tang Ying pounced on him, grabbing his shoulders. Could it be that the medicine from last time, The medicine from last time? At this moment, Qin Guang vaguely sensed something. Tang Ying continued, tell me the truth. Did the combination of your father's super mighty tonic soup and the imported medicine from the United States that I got you cause a huge problem? You're really good at imagining things. But this excuse is really great. I was just fretting about how to come up with a story and you've actually thought of this for me. Well then, leave the rest to me. Qin Guang felt that his acting skills had never exploded like this before. He turned his head slightly, his face full of melancholy and endless loneliness. That's right, that night was actually just the beginning. It's just that I found it hard to talk about it later, so I didn't want to tell you. I really don't know what kind of changes happened to my body after the two medicines were mixed together. But anyway, I mutated. I became very, very strong. Don't pity me, don't pity me. This is my fate and I accept the punishment of fate. I must have done too many wrong things in my previous life, let down too many women, and that's why I have to suffer this kind of torture in this life. I don't blame you and I don't blame my dad. Who knows the secrets of the human body? Who would have thought that the two medicines would be so terrifying after being mixed together? Tang Ying sucked in a breath of cold air. She was frightened by Qin Guang's gaze, which was filled with despair. How terrifying is it? Qin Guang thought for a moment. Have you seen the pile driver used in construction? Tang Ying nodded. Yes. Qin Guang shrugged. That's it. I don't believe it. Tang Ying said, raising her voice. Qin Guang curled his lips. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. Anyway, it's like this. Alright, let's not talk about it anymore. I'll go see Teacher Zhuo. Oh no, Sister Jingxi. After saying that, he left Tang Ying and entered the ward. Zhuo Jingxi heard the door open and opened her eyes slightly. She looked at him and smiled. Qin Guang sat by the bedside, so nervous that he didn't know where to put his hands. Sister Jingxi, I'm really sorry. Zhuo Jingxi smiled again. Why are you saying sorry to me? Haven't I always been the one taking the initiative? I should be the one saying sorry. I was planning to squeeze all your energy tonight, but I didn't expect myself to be so useless. Qin Guang said, No. It's not your problem. Zhuo Jingxi raised her hand tiredly and gently stroked his face. Then she squeezed his hand. This isn't the time to discuss whose problem it is. Anyway, promise me that you won't go looking for Wang Ren, okay? Qin Guang said, Okay, I won't go looking for him tonight. That's good. I'm a little sleepy. The doctor told me to have a good rest. Tomorrow morning, the gynecology department will be working. After a checkup, I can go back. I'll sleep first. You go back to school and rest. Don't worry about me, Zhuo Jingxi said again and quickly closed her eyes. She was really tired. In less than 10 seconds, she started snoring. Qin Guang sat by the side for a while. Things had happened in a hurry today. Zhuo Jingxi wasn't in the intensive care unit and there were other patients in the room. If Qin Guang wanted to sleep, he would have to move the spring bed under the hospital bed. He was lying on the floor and moving it quietly when Tang Ying's head popped out from the door and blinked at him. I thought you went home. Why haven't you left yet? Qin Guang put down what he was doing and leaned over to whisper. However, Tang Ying grabbed him by the collar and pulled him out. What are you doing? Qin Guang asked as he was dragged out. Tang Ying's face was full of worry. I feel that what you said is too mysterious. It's making me feel uneasy. Come to my dorm and I'll give you a checkup. Qin Guang was reluctant. What's there to check? I've really mutated. Mutated. To put it bluntly, it's called superpower. I don't care what the theory is. Anyway, it's already like this. You can't ask me to cut it off and grow a new one, right? Tang Ying spat at him. Tui tui tui. Do you think you're a gecko? Cut it off and you'll grow a new one? The more I think about it, the more I feel that something is wrong. Zhuo Jingxi's symptoms, even the most powerful machine? Alright, don't look at me like that. Even a toy doesn't have this power. I don't believe that you can do it. Don't worry about Zhuo Jingxi. She's just exhausted from the stimulation. She'll be fine when she wakes up tomorrow morning. You're the one who's going to cause endless trouble. Don't dawdle, come with me. How dare you look down on me? Even Bai mattress died under my knife. You're the one who forced me to do this. Qin Guang said as Tang Ying pulled him into the dormitory room. Tang Ying pressed him down on the stool. She didn't hold back and prepared to crawl on his pants. She only felt that if Qin Guang really underwent a mutation as he said, then she wouldn't be able to absolve herself from the blame since she was the one that provided the first batch of the Vitality Recovery Tonic and imported healthcare medicine. Whether it was his identity as Wu Tong's younger brother or her own friend, Tang Ying felt really bad about it. Besides, they were strangers the first time around, and as the saying goes, doctors have the heart of a parent. Tang Ying had no qualms about taking off his pants. However, Qin Guang pushed her hand away. He got up and picked up a useless piece of plywood from the corner of the room. He grinned. No matter how you look at it, this is how it is. It's time to show my true strength. As he spoke, he approached Tang Ying with the plywood in his hand. Tang Ying took a step back, but her back was pressed against the wall. She had nowhere to go. What are you trying to do? Qin Guang grinned again. Sister Tang Ying, it's time to witness a miracle. As he spoke, he moved a little closer and their bodies were almost stuck together. Do me a favor and give me a little stimulation, but I promise I don't have any evil intentions. I just need a little stimulation, that's all. Tang Ying's voice began to tremble. What favor? Qin Guang slowly raised his empty hand and pointed it at Tang Ying's chest. Give me a little stimulation. As he said that, he suddenly covered Tang Ying's chest with his big hand and grabbed it forcefully. Previously at Zhuo Jingxi's house, the second time, he didn't really feel the ecstasy as he was scared out of his wits. Now that the dust had settled and his hand was grabbing Tang Ying's perky breasts, the stimulation caused an immediate reaction. Chapter 426. Tang Ying was about to reprimand him for his sudden attack when she saw him suddenly jump back a step and pull down his trousers with one hand. The plywood was placed in front of him, blocking Tang Ying's gaze. Don't. Tang Ying finally guessed what he was going to do. Qin Guang smiled confidently. No, really, don't worry. This is my ability. Please call me a psychic. Come. Witness the miracle of human history. In front of Tang Ying, Qin Guang didn't have any psychological barriers. He even felt that this kind-hearted lady doctor was going against him in this aspect. So he unleashed his power. The strongest pile driver that had experienced 99,999 trials in the cup world was unleashed. Tang Ying covered her eyes in panic. This guy was crazy. Did he want to forcefully break the plywood? Ouch. It hurts. All of a sudden, Qin Guang held onto his crotch. Tang Ying moved her hand away and stared at him. What's wrong? The wood stubble has pierced into the skin. It hurts. 5 minutes later, Tang Ying finally pulled out the small piece of wood with the help of a lamp and tweezers. She then bandaged his wound and knocked him on the head. You're so poor that you can't even show off. Show off. Let's see if you still want to die. Qin Guang looked like he was about to cry. I thought the mattress could break and the plank would be fine, but I really didn't consider the wood stubble. Sigh, no matter what, it seems that you've really mutated. Tang Ying picked up the broken plywood. I really didn't expect it. Scary, really scary. Qin Guang put on his trousers and looked back at her. What should I do for the rest of my life? Don't ask me. I can't do anything about it. Anyway, I don't have the heart to go to Wu Tong and gossip about you. But if Wu Tong finds out about you and Zhuo Jingxi, don't expect me to help you ask her for mercy. I have no right to care about you and teacher Zhuo. As for you and sister Wu Tong, as a good sister, I can't do anything about it either. What kind of sin have you committed? So, anyway, good luck to you. No, you're the main culprit. Speaking of which, my blood is boiling again. I want to kill someone again. Qin Guang chuckled. Tang Ying stepped on his foot for the third time. She glared at him with coquettish eyes. As if it's not enough for you to mess with your counselor, how dare you try to mess with me? Do you think I won't cut it off while you're asleep? As you know, I'm very good at surgery. I guarantee that it'll be painless. Once you wake up, you'll be in peace. I won't dare, I won't dare. Qin Guang broke into a run and returned to the ward. He obediently moved out the spring bed and slept until dawn. Before he fell asleep, he was also puzzled. He did not know how other boys felt after their first time in their lives, but why did it feel so strange when it happened to him? There was no sense of transformation at all. It was all the fault of the world in a cup. I've just experienced the joys of human relationships, and you want me to become a super pile driver? What an animal. Before he fell asleep, he silently looked at Zhuo Jingxi's bed. When will Xiao Sisi fully recover? Next time I'll take a rope and tie my waist to the board. That should be able to reduce the impact, right? In the middle of the night, a loud noise came from the ward. Qin Guang crawled up from the ground, his face covered in dirt. What the hell? What the hell? What just happened? He first looked at his hand, then at the huge tent on his crotch. He instantly understood. It was the same familiar rhythm from before. It was supposed to be a dream without a trace, but this time the Qilin's arm collided with the diamond drill. The ultra-strong vibration of the same frequency shook off the screws on the spring bed, and the bed fell apart. Zhuo Jingxi stretched out her body from the bed in a daze. The other patients also panicked and turned on the lights to see what was going on. It It was as if there was an earthquake. The nurse on patrol rushed in as if the whole building was alarmed. Facing the nurse's questioning gaze, Qin Guang was the first to complain. The quality of your bed is terrible. The next morning, after accompanying Zhuo Jingxi to the OB/GYN department for a checkup, and after confirming that there were no sequelae, Qin Guang finally dragged Zhuo Jingxi home. He could not forget the way the OB/GYN auntie looked at him and what she said. "Young man, don't be like this. Treat your wife better. You're really too sigh." The auntie sounded like she wanted to lecture Qin Guang, but in the end she could not bring herself to say it. Instead, she turned to Zhuo Jingxi and said, "It's okay for you young people to have a deep relationship, but you really have to take care of your health. Xiao Tang specifically asked me this morning, and I don't have any good ideas for you too. I've thought about it and I only have one suggestion. Xiao Zhuo, you have to exercise more. Yes, exercise more or else you'll have to come again next time." Zhuo Jingxi was so embarrassed that she could not even lift her head. Qin Guang was equally embarrassed, but he still plucked up his courage and sniffed. Auntie, when can we do it again?" The doctor poked at the words on the medical record and said, "I suggest that you don't have sex within a month." "Within a month? I used a red pen to frame it for you, so you should take a look at it yourself. Women have to be taken care of. Although there is a saying that there is no land that is plowed, only cows that die of exhaustion, Xiao Chen and Xiao Zhuo's situation is different." Qin Guang and Zhuo Jingxi quickly ran away after being lectured by the doctor. The two of them sat at home and stared at each other for a long time. Fan Lingshan, who was beside them, also stared at the two of them. "Brother, you too." Fan Lingshan was young after all and too curious. Before Qin Guang could speak, Zhuo Jingxi smiled and patted Fan Lingshan's head. "Lingshan, you're still young, don't ask so many questions. Your brother and I are fine. Alright, I still have to go to the lab in the afternoon. There have been too many things recently and I was supposed to send out the thesis last week. If I don't hurry up, it will be delayed until next month." After Zhuo Jingxi finished speaking, she propped herself up and turned to Fan Lingshan. "Lingshan, haven't you been quite interested in the laboratory recently? Come with me." Before the two of them left, Zhuo Jingxi let Fan Lingshan into the elevator first, then turned back to look at Qin Guang and said again, "Anyway, no matter what you do, no matter what you plan to do next, you have to remember that you're not alone anymore. You have to think about your parents and me and don't do anything stupid. I can't keep an eye on you 24/7 and I can't either. Wait for me for a month." After saying that, she left, leaving Qin Guang alone in the room feeling depressed. On the internet, discussions about Wang Ren were still prevalent, but gradually people lost their initial enthusiasm. The topics on the homepage of the major websites were also taken down, and no one knew if these sections were removed or moved to a corner. The fake reviewers that Qin Guang had spent a lot of money to hire were also threatened and suppressed by the mysterious relevant departments after working crazily for a few days. Fortunately, the servers and registration locations of these fake reviewers were all overseas, but many of their ports were blocked, and some of the core staff in the country were also threatened. The root cause of the matter was that Qin Guang had not been able to send Wang Ren to the public prosecutor's stand when the matter was at its peak, giving Su Lijing a chance to breathe. Qin Guang knew that if he really let this matter die down, what awaited him, Zhuo Jingxi, and the others was very likely to be Su Lijing's continuous revenge. Even though he had the death exemption token given to him by Jin Shiyue, no matter how he thought about it, he still felt uncomfortable. Was this really the only way? Why don't I just throw caution to the wind and reveal my true face? Let the world know that I, Qin Guang, am an omnipotent Superman, and personally go up against Su Lijing's influence? Before Jin Shiyue posted those two Weibo posts, this might have been a good idea, but now, no matter how much courage he had, he really didn't dare to stand out like this. Looking at the comments of the crazy fans under Jin Shiyue's Weibo, some of them said things that even made Qin Guang's hair stand on end. They even said things like bringing gasoline with them and dying together with that Qin guy. It was not impossible for something like this to happen to a fanatical fan. But I can't accept it. Right now, the heavy bomb in his hands was the last video of the young nurse that had not been released. It was different from the video of the boy being beaten up. At that time, the boy was in trouble, and there were many accomplices around Wang Ren. They all said that the law did not punish the masses. On the other hand, the boy did not die on the spot, and there was someone who could take the blame. His family had also reached an understanding with Su Lijing, so this heavy evidence was basically useless. If it was Qin Guang's own idea, of course he would throw it out in one go. In that video, Wang Ren's ugliness and madness were completely exposed. The nurse was ravaged for more than 10 minutes, and during that period, There were many scenes of abuse that made people feel adrenaline rush to their heads. The scale was so large that it was like in Japanese sadomasochistic film. When Chen Guang watched it, he did not have the slightest desire, only anger that was left. Because he knew that this was not a movie but reality. Unfortunately, the nurse still refused to stand out. She couldn't blame anyone for this since it was the darkest stain in her life. She couldn't face her painful past, nor did she want to recall it. She chose to cherish her current life and family, and Chen Guang had no reason to blame her. Chen Guang stood in front of the car window and looked at his phaeton. Thinking of the iron box in the trunk, he felt very disappointed. Did he really have to give up? Suddenly his phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Guoming calling. "Uncle Guo, what's the progress? Is there any law firm willing to accept the offer?" Chen Guang quickly asked as soon as he picked up the call. Guoming had been running around for the past 2 days. Unexpectedly, Guoming's voice sounded particularly panicked. "It's not like this. Chen Guang, I am now in the women's toilet next to the airport's second exit hall. Come here quickly. It's urgent." In the women's toilet? Chen Guang did not react immediately. Chapter 427. Guoming continued, "It's hard to explain in a few words. Anyway, Nurse Leng is here by plane. She's badly injured and there are people looking for her everywhere. If you don't hurry over, I'm afraid you won't be able to see me and Nurse Leng tomorrow." The Nurse Leng that Guoming was talking about was the tragic victim. What? Chen Guang turned around and walked out the door without hesitation. "Uncle Guo, don't worry. Hide well and wait for me." It took Chen Guang less than 20 minutes to get to the airport. After all, the airport was very close to Gokyo University. As soon as he got out of the car, he felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. There were many passengers coming and going at exit 2, but there were a few suspicious men who looked like they were waiting for passengers. Chen Guang could be considered a martial artist now, and his hands were stained with blood. From these men, he could vaguely sense a trace of the same kind of aura. For example, a man was leaning against the guardrail, reading a newspaper out of boredom. However, the veins on the back of his hand were bulging. Of course, it didn't take much strength to pinch a newspaper. The thick veins could only mean that this person trained a lot. There was another man leaning against the wall not far from the door, talking on the phone with someone with a smile on his face. However, he kept glancing at the door from time to time. The man was smiling when he was talking on the phone, but there was not the slightest hint of a smile in his eyes. There was also something fishy going on. However, what truly exposed their tracks in Chen Guang's eyes was the moment he appeared here. Although these people had hidden themselves very well, they had clearly pretended to look at his car plate number from beginning to end. They know me. They also know my car. They are Su Lijing's people. Assassins. Thinking back to what Guoming said on the phone, although Chen Guang didn't see Nurse Leng, he could vaguely guess what happened. Su Lijing made a mistake. He made a move on Nurse Leng's family. His aggressive and relentless pursuit on the internet had finally caused Su Lijing to lose his composure. Although his counterattack had easily nullified many of his previous attacks, and even caused the victim's family to shirk responsibility at the last minute, it could be considered as taking drastic measures. However, he was also worried about Nurse Leng. His counterattack was too forceful, but Nurse Leng was still alive and came to the 5 capital. This was his biggest flaw. The blood in Chen Guang's heart, which had gradually cooled down, began to heat up again. This was probably his last chance. No matter what, he had to get them first. Since he had been recognized, Chen Guang simply swaggered directly into the airport lobby. The people guarding the door did not follow him inside. Their companions were still inside. Of course, they did not know that they had been exposed. These people did know Chen Guang, and they also knew that he was a student at Gokyo University. Perhaps he had some background and connections. Their employer had also made it very clear that they should try not to have a direct conflict with Chen Guang. Even if they could not avoid it, they should not harm his life. They did not know that the Chen Guang who appeared here was not only a student, but also the second mate of a pirate at sea for 20 years. He had participated in countless battles, and even in the real world, he had fiercely fought with international criminals who were more vicious than them. On the surface, Chen Guang could deal with Sergio and the others with his bare hands. On the surface, it seemed that he was lucky and used the heavenly Holy Grail well, giving them a taste of their own medicine. However, the more important reason was that Chen Guang had rich combat experience, and was calm and sharp enough in the face of danger. He was a student, but he was also an executioner who made many ferocious pirates tremble in fear at the sound of his name. It was just that after leaving the Sea of Moments, he gradually hid the blood in his body in the peaceful real world. Qin Guang did not directly go to the women's toilet where Guoming was hiding. Instead he wandered around in boredom. His actions seemed useless, but he was constantly probing for possible enemies in the lobby. These people who were hired by Su Lijing knew Qin Guang, which became their weakness. When a person looked at someone they knew and someone they did not know, there would be differences in the way they looked and the minute movements of their body. Even if these people hidden in the crowd were subconsciously hiding their abnormalities, the more they tried to hide, the easier it was for Qin Guang to see through their identities. About 15 minutes later, Qin Guang saw through all the suspicious people in the lobby. He was sure of two things. First, there were 3 people loitering in the hall and 4 people outside the door. There were 7 people in total, which was the capacity of a 7-seater MPV. If he guessed correctly, their car should be the Buick MPV parked 3 spaces away from his Phaeton. Second, they should not have colluded with the airport security system, so they had to go through the scanner when they entered the door. They should not have brought firearms with them. Suddenly, Qin Guang's phone rang again. He picked it up and saw that it was a text message from Guoming. "Where are you? How much longer? We've been in the toilet cubicle for too long. The airport staff are starting to get suspicious. Someone just saw my shoes from below. We can't hide any longer." Qin Guang looked up and saw a female airport staff walking out of the toilet door where Guoming and Nurse Lung were hiding. She waved at them and 3 or 4 other female staff walked over quickly. The other 3 people wandering in the lobby also noticed the abnormality. They no longer paid attention to Qin Guang, but moved in the direction of the toilet. There was no time to hesitate. Seeing that he could not hide anymore, Qin Guang simply ran in the lobby. He did not care about shocking the public and rushed straight to the women's toilet. Qin Guang's sudden outburst made those suspicious people who wanted to quietly approach the toilet unable to react. When they wanted to speed up, Qin Guang had already rushed to the door of the women's toilet. The airport staff were shocked by Qin Guang's movement. They had received a report from the public that there was a pervert hiding in the women's toilet. They were planning to arrest him. Could it be that the pervert secretly had an accomplice? "Young man. What are you doing? Stop. This is the women's toilet." One of the strong airport policewomen opened her arms to stop Qin Guang. Qin Guang only said, "I'm sorry, the situation is urgent. I will apologize another day." After that, Qin Guang reached out and grabbed the policewoman's outstretched hand. He then pulled her to the side and rushed into the women's toilet. When he pushed the door open, the people who were waiting in line to go to the toilet suddenly screamed. Qin Guang covered his eyes and walked forward. He said, "Everyone, don't panic. I'm sorry, I'm not a hooligan. I have an urgent matter." "If it's an urgent matter, go to the men's toilet." A courageous female comrade with a strong sense of justice pulled up her pants. She did not even fasten her belt. She picked up the mop in the sink and was about to hit him. "Stop it. This is a case." Qin Guang panicked. He slapped the mop with the back of his hand. The power of the Qilin arm was terrifying. The mop was immediately knocked out of his hand and hit the door of a cubicle. The quality of the cubicle's door lock was obviously not good. After being hit by the mop, it opened directly. Qin Guang looked to the side and saw an 18 or 19-year-old girl sitting on the toilet bowl with her legs open. Her lower body was wide open and water was flowing out. He only glanced at it from the corner of his eye and knew that it was a serious matter. He quickly covered his head and rushed to the 3rd cubicle where Guoming and Nurse Lung were hiding. He only muttered in his heart, "F***ck, I won't be able to clear my name even if I jump into the Yellow River." The girl was shocked for about 2 seconds. Then she began to scream at the top of her lungs. "Hooligan. Forget it. It doesn't seem right to say that I didn't see anything. But it doesn't seem right to say that I saw something I shouldn't have. Anyway, I did a good deed and left my name." Qin Guang knocked on the cubicle door. "Uncle Gua, you guys come out first. We need to leave quickly." Qin Guang turned his head and looked at the girl who was embarrassed, angry, and wanted to fight him but did not dare to do so. He put his hands together and apologized. "This classmate, I didn't see anything just now. I really didn't see anything. Ladies and aunties, I really didn't come in here to be a hooligan. This is a serious matter for me." Seeing that some people had started to take out their phones, Qin Guang quickly pulled up his collar to cover his face. He shouted in a hooligan tone, "If you guys are really angry, come to my school and beat me up. What I'm doing right now is a matter of life and death. I, by fan, will never change my name or my surname. I'll bear the consequences even if it's a big crime. You guys can come and find trouble with me in the future. But please don't give me more trouble now. Please understand me. Unless it's absolutely necessary, I, the good student of Gokyo University by fan, will not be so shameless as to barge into the women's toilet. All of this took a long time to describe, but in fact it only took dozens of seconds. The people in the toilet retreated one after another, and the airport policewoman and 2 male police officers followed them in. The people who were still in the women's toilet were the girl who was at a loss, the lady who was waving the mop, and a fashionable white-collared worker who was taking pictures with his phone. By fan from Gokyo University? Forget it. Don't be a hooligan here. Whatever you want, talk to us at the airport police station. Seeing that things were getting out of hand, the cubicle door that was hiding Guoming and Nurse Lung finally opened. The first to walk out was not Guoming but Nurse Lung. Qin Guang turned to look at Nurse Lung and was stunned. What the hell is going on? Qin Guang had seen Nurse Lung before, whether it was her miserable state in the video, her youthful and gorgeous work photos when she was working in school, or the photos of her happy life when she was living in Denghai. Even though she was now a wife and had a 3-year-old son, according to Guoming's description, she should still be a beautiful and hot mother. When she was in school she could be called a flower in the school hospital, beautiful and moving. Otherwise, Wang Ren would not have acted like a beast in front of her. But look at her now. Chapter 428. Half of her head was wrapped in a thick gauze, covering one of her eyes. There were still blood stains on her forehead, and there was a horrible wound on her face. One could even see the centipede-like thread that had just been sewn on it. She squinted her eyes and looked at Qin Guang with a lifeless gaze. She was only wearing a thin white singlet, and thick bandages extended from her waist up, wrapping around her shoulders. One of her hands was holding onto a walking stick, and half of her right leg under the walking stick was gone. The bandages were densely covered in blood. The moment she saw Qin Guang, a burning light flashed in her eyes. They were filled with ecstasy and excitement. You're finally here to pick us up. She clenched the cane in her hand, and her other hand subconsciously reached out to shake Qin Guang's hand. When it was in midair, she sheepishly retracted her hand. I'm sorry, I don't have this hand anymore. Nurse Lung's current tragic state not only scared Qin Guang, but also the excited women in the private room. They covered their mouths and the sensitive little girl's eyes reddened. Tragic, this is really tragic. The airport police officers standing at the door were also silent. What kind of fate did this woman suffer to appear in the airport in such a state? I'm sorry, I just had my arm amputated the day before yesterday. I look a little scary now. Nurse Lung was calmer than everyone else. She did not avoid the others but looked straight at Qin Guang. I thought your surname was Qin, but I didn't expect you to be Mr. Bai. Is Mr. Qin waiting for us outside? Before Nurse Lung could finish her words, her expression changed again. She said to Guoming next to her, Director Gua, help me open the bag. The wound on my left hand is bleeding again. Guoming, who had been standing behind her, hurriedly opened the bag and placed it in front of Nurse Lung. Under everyone's confused and frightened gazes, she leaned against the wall and used her remaining right hand to remove the bandage on her left hand, revealing her left hand without a palm and only half a wrist. She then took out the medicinal powder inside and sprinkled it on the wound on her wrist to slightly stop the bleeding. Then she swiftly wrapped the bandage again. From the beginning to the end she did not blink once, nor did she frown once. She only used her right hand and her movements were swift and professional. Miss Lung, actually you don't need to be in such a hurry to come here. What's going on? You should recuperate first. Qin Guang couldn't help but ask while Nurse Lung was bandaging her wound. She raised her eyes slightly, and there was endless self-blame and pain in her eyes. No, actually, I should have come here a long time ago. This is also my last chance. If I can't leave Denghai this time, I'm afraid I'll have to go down to accompany my husband and son. The crowd and the airport police officers who were listening and watching the situation had their eyelids twitching wildly. What exactly happened that made this woman, who had just experienced a catastrophe and had an amputated hand and foot, grit her teeth and fly from Denghai to Wujing? What a frightening willpower it took. We seem to have gotten ourselves involved in some serious matter. Nurse Lung had just finished bandaging when the airport police chief arrived late. Until now the 3 people outside had not moved. There were many people in this place and they were also somewhat afraid. The airport police chief had met Qin Guang once before, when they were dealing with the international bandits from Shurjiu. Qin Guang did not recognize him, but he recognized Qin Guang. He knew that this was Wu Shan's favorite, so he took the initiative to step forward and help to contact 120 to take Nurse Lung to the hospital. Chen Guang thought for a while and decided not to let Nurse Lung out of his sight. He declined the chief's good intentions and planned to take her directly to Wujing City Hospital. Now he trusted that place. Nurse Lung's face was extremely pale. She was also full of vigilance. She could not trust anyone, especially the police. She also gritted her teeth and refused to accept the arrangements of the airport police station. Chen Guang sent the naked girl out of the women's restroom and decisively sold Bai Nyangzi's name and phone number. Student, I'm sorry for causing you trouble. My name is Bai Fan. This is my phone number. If you're angry later, you can call me to scold me. It's okay, you can scold me until you're appeased. I can swear to God that I really didn't see anything just now. The girl was a little unwilling, but she was touched by his sincere look. You really didn't see anything? I swear. If I saw something I shouldn't have seen, I'll dig out my own eyes and break my own arms. All right, I believe you. The girl finally left. The chief asked the white-collared woman who took the video to delete the video before letting her go. Although he did not know the situation, it seemed to be a serious matter. The chief was also very professional. At this time, only the airport chief, Chen Guang, Guoming, and Nurse Lung were left in the women's restroom. Little Chen, do you really not need me to ask someone to send you? The airport chief led a large group of airport police officers and followed Chen Guang and the others to the exit. The 7 suspicious people hired by Su Lijing did not make any movements from beginning to end. Obviously, they were also afraid of this situation. Chen Guang pretended to be indifferent. Thank you for your kindness, but this is my personal matter. How can I trouble you? All right. Seeing that he insisted, the chief had no other choice. Guoming was a little tempted. He wanted to discuss further, but he saw Chen Guang give him a look. Only then did he know that there was a deeper meaning to his decision, so he did not say anything more. As soon as they got in the car and locked the door, Guoming said hurriedly, Chen Guang, where are we going now? However, Chen Guang wasn't in a rush to start the car. Instead, he looked out of the window and saw the airport's director waving at him with a group of people. However, the 7 suspicious individuals were nowhere to be seen. Needless to say, they must have boarded the vehicle. Don't rush. Let's talk as we walk. I need to figure out the situation first. Chen Guang was calm enough. Nurse Lung, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, was anxious. But someone is looking for me outside. They have their eyes on me. Chen Guang opened the antibiotic bottle for her and slowly unscrewed the water bottle for her. Ms. Lung, don't be anxious. Since you're here, I won't let anything happen to you. What the hell happened? Is it convenient for you to tell me? Let's talk as we walk, okay? Although Nurse Lung was still a little afraid, she seemed to have no other choice but to trust Chen Guang. Sai, I really regret it. When Director Gui came to me for the first time last week, I should have stood up bravely. Nurse Lung swallowed the medicine and said slowly, I thought I would be safe and sound by hiding. I didn't expect to end up like this. As for what happened to Lung Qin's family, Chen Guang could only sigh. On his side, due to morality, Lung Qin refused to nod or come out to testify, so he would not expose Lung Qin's video. But Su Lijing did not think so. When he heard from Wang Ren how important the video was, he made the most decisive decision so far. Of course, he had made many mistakes for Wang Ren in his life. Now that Chen Guang wanted to fight to the death with him, Su Lijing also thought that he could not always be so gentle. He should show some determination in some areas. He could kill the chicken to warn the monkey, destroy the corpse and destroy the evidence, and beat Chen Guang, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Anyway, Nurse Lung's family was just a small fry, wasn't it? Unfortunately, the people in Denghai did not do their job well and let Nurse Lung survive. Of course, it could also be that she was too tough. The car was completely deformed, but she was still lucky to survive. The night before yesterday, my husband and I took our son home from Shaonyangong. Our house is in Zhenghe town in the suburbs of Denghai. When we were almost home, we stopped in front of the zebra crossing to wait for the traffic light. A bulldozer crashed into us from behind like crazy. Our car was completely deformed. When I woke up, I was already lying on the hospital bed without an arm and a leg. My husband and son were already in the morgue. That bulldozer belonged to a transportation company. The driver ran away immediately. I heard that he was driving without a license, so we couldn't find him at all. My family called the police and filed a case, but the CEO of the transportation company said that he didn't know the driver at all. He said that the driver was just a temporary replacement. He also said that the driver drove like this in the middle of the night and didn't care about the traffic lights at night. He also said that he was willing to pay for such a big incident. He was willing to take responsibility, and he was willing to do everything he could to cooperate with the investigation. He took out 5 million yuan at that time. He said that if we were not satisfied he could add more. But what was the use of that? What was the point of that? Even if we really caught the driver, could we shoot him? Could we shoot the CEO of the transportation company? I don't want money at all. I just want revenge. Last night I wanted to watch the surveillance but they wouldn't let me. I felt that something wasn't right, so I kept thinking about it in my head. Then I realized that we were waiting for the traffic light on the fast lane on the innermost side of the road. The truck didn't even take the same lane as us at the beginning. He purposely changed paths to come here. This wasn't a traffic accident caused by running a red light. This was a murder under the guise of a traffic accident. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.